Okay, we are live. So before we get a start here, welcome everyone. If you're here, it's me, Wendy. Thank you for being on the live stream. I'm going to turn on my camera a little bit. Thank you for coming to my little corner of the world. So as you guys know, I am here to talk about the Idaho 4 case. But before we get into today's stream, I'd just like to ask, if you like any of my work, please consider subscribing, sharing, all those things. It does help the channel to grow, because my aim is to share the knowledge that comes to me through the living God that we serve. So today I'm joined by novelist and anthropologist Rashids Dossett. And before we get talking, I'm going to give you a brief introduction. Give me a second here. I hope you guys can see this on the stage. So we are going to be talking about Fortuna, Automatia, and pretty much how she functions as an entity that is used to balance energy waves within a community. I'm going to let Rashids do most of the talking regarding that. But in any ways, when you have a community that experiences unrest, instability, or any kind of embarrassment, for example, as we've seen in this case, and you guys can go along and do your own comparison. But when people feel resentment, instead of relying on God, they turn to occult practices. And the reason they perform rituals to summon this stiff creature is because they basically want to flip the table on everyone else, because their mindset is, if they cannot win at anything, then nobody can. So if you have somebody who has any kind of success that they've worked for, they've built a good life, and you have a group who is resentful of this, they will go and perform the rituals. So they are not looking for a fair outcome. A vengeful group will basically summon her to drag the successful person right back into the dirt with them. So it's very effective when it's done in a group, because this ensures that they don't have to get their hands dirty. They basically tell themselves that this is justice. And anyway, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. So before I get ahead of myself, let's bring up Rashids. He's going to do an explanation of exactly who Fortuna is, where she stems from, and how she fits into what happened, not only in this case, but all over the world. So thank you, Rashids, for being here. Let me put you and me on stage. Hope everyone could hear me there. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Rashids, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
All right, let me just remove that one. I can hear you guys perfectly. So let's remove Fortuna here. Rashids, I think your cam is off.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly well. Can everybody hear in the chat?
Yeah. You hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly well.
Okay, good. Wendy, thanks for introducing me. For those who don't know, yes, I'm Rashids Dossett, an anthropologist and a sociologist, educated in the Netherlands. I reside there also in The Hague. Yes, we have International Criminal Court. I live around there. And I've been looking into the Idaho 4 case also, and I've been on Wendy's platform multiple times already, discussing this case. And just like Wendy already introduced this entity we're about to discuss, Fortuna, what she said is 100% correct. I just want to give a short addition to it before Wendy continues with her class. Fortuna is a deity that's common in the world, but it's also a deity that's been hidden since the rise of Christianity. What it comes down to is human beings that don't serve the Heavenly Father, they lack self-worth, they're long-term unstable. So anytime a fellow human being in their community has some advantage, they tend to feel abandoned. I mean, the abandonment is the issue they already have internally. It's just being triggered. For example, Joe can be a farmer with a small plot of land. Jack's also a farmer nearby. Jack suddenly has 2 times the amount of harvest than usual. Now, in a natural situation, Joe say, well done, Jack, because everyone knows Jack cannot consume all the crops by himself. He needs to store them and sell them. If you can't store them and sell them, it's going to go to waste. So everyone knows this is improved for the community. We have more surplus of food now. We can have more banquets, more parties, or more celebrations, parties is a political thing, or we can have more revenue. So it wouldn't be a bad thing at all. But in the world, Joe now, the sense of abandonment he already had inside of him started trigger thinking, okay, so obviously Jack is more important than me. Obviously everyone's going to forget about me. And he spins around in his mind about Jack's extra harvest. Mm-hmm. And even though he has his own harvest, he doesn't lack anything financially, but the fact that his identity, how he perceives himself, is threatened now. Thing is, Jack doesn't threaten him at all. Jack is not a threat at all towards him. But because he is in abandonment, he's going to perceive Jack's surplus of grain or grapes, whatever the harvest is, as a threat to his own acceptance. Now, what human beings often do in this situation is they now develop an accusation against an individual they perceive as a threat. The accusation can go both ways. The accusation is called invidia, by the way, or invidia in Latin. Invidia can go 2 ways. Either they're going to be so self-occupied with feeling threatened that they want to control as much people around them as possible. That's jealousy, we call that. Or they become so frightened by the other individual, they want to fight the other individual as if they're not even human beings anymore. So like there's some dangerous entity. That's called envy. So envy and jealousy are 2 sides of the same accusation. And that accusation is an emotional charge where people don't want to face own sense of abandonment on the inside.
Yes.
Now, there are not many anthropologists calling this out directly as it is, let alone sociologists. Well, I do both and I call it out. Envy and jealousy are common in society because most people in the world don't serve the Heavenly Father. They don't have this exclusive relationship with the Heavenly Father where they can be 100% completely vulnerable. So that's why they see compensation in all the human beings. And this compensation always goes wrong. Now, let's say now, go back to example, Joe and Jack. Joe now, it's not only Joe, Joe's wife may feel suddenly threatened also. She may begin to wonder, they married the wrong man. You may think, why is she thinking like that? Your husband is good towards you, but hey, that's fallen mankind. They lack self-worth. So when they feel threatened, logic goes out of the window. It's pure emotional roller coaster now. The children may feel, oh crap, mom and dad don't feel well, soon they're going to take it out on us. Oh no. So you're going to have a bad situation. Now, what could happen is that suddenly there are people in the neighborhood attacking Joe's cattle or burning down Joe's farmhouse, or Joe himself is killed. Why? Because people are terrified of this so-called threat there that doesn't even exist. Groups of people.
Is it fabricated in their mind how they perceive success?
So they're actually this is what they call a collective psychosis. Individual psychosis. I'm not a psychologist. I have knowledge about it as an anthropologist. Individual psychosis when an individual is so terrified that they actually lose their sense of being and just go wild attack because they feel afraid. They literally feel afraid and believe their existence is at stake, and they attack just to survive. They actually go into a blackout psychologically. Now, this only happens when someone is severely traumatized or in extreme danger. Like someone just points a gun to one of your little children, someone tries to kidnap your child, or there's a bulldozer coming your way, or I don't know, you meet a bear or lion in the street. However, human beings don't just go into blackouts like this when it's actual real danger. People can perceive danger that is even there and also enter the blackout. And when people are together and they have a common blackout, that's quite dangerous. So
why is that?
This is if you have one individual with a blackout that they psychologically lose into psychosis, you can always call others to calm the individual down. and restrain them, call the cops, put them in a jail cell, in a mental cell, whatever. But if you have a group of people, especially more than 50 people, who are all in a blackout together, perceiving the same threat, even though we all have individual mania at the moment, it's still a collective phenomenon that you all have this psychotic reaction towards something or someone. And because everyone feels justified in attacking the actual danger, it's quite hard, not even possible to restrain the people then. People are going to die and get hurt. And because the people are so convinced they're right, afterwards, they like this split psychologically. It's like they don't even remember what they've done, unless you bring it up. So they can go into this hysteria in a village or in a town, end up killing Jack or Joe or whatever, and then suddenly 4 or 5 years later, someone remembers what happened to Joe. And now everyone got shot. It's like a lot of them can't even properly remember what happened to Joe because they were so messed up at the time.
Like they suffer from some kind of delusion.
Yes. Okay. Now, in a delusion, a human being insists on escaping even when it's not in the best interest. For example, if someone tells me, I want to cycle from Lisbon, Portugal, all the way to Beijing. Now, is it physically possible to do that? Yes. Is it easy? No. But why would you want to do something like that? Is it because you want to set up a world record? What's the reason for it? So even though what they want to do is possible, why we want to do it is now you find out that they have financial difficulties in life, or they're in a divorce and they don't want to deal with it. So now they go on something extreme like cycling throughout the whole continent, or they go climbing a mountain that is known to be quite difficult to climb. They do things that are actually quite risky for themselves and other people. Others, I don't even regard their own safety of others because so desperate to escape. That's a delusion. In a psychosis, people actually believe the threat, while a delusion is simply the escape to the pressuring them. Okay. So anyway, when human beings feel abundant, and this sense of abundance is shared by other people, it can turn quite ugly very quickly. And then our ancestors knew this in ancient times. Now, the solution is, well, serve them Father. He said, I'll never leave nor forsake you. I'll never leave nor fail you. Guess what? Your sense of abundance is gone now. But because the world doesn't serve the Heavenly Father, they seek compensation. And this Nephilim entity from Greece has become the standard compensation they're looking for to balance out the energy waves in the community. Is this clear to you now? Okay.
No, we're all good. So this deity originally comes from the deity Tish, right?
Yeah, you just keep talking. I'll just intervene when needed. Just keep talking, Wendy. I'll just interject when needed.
No. I want you to explain that Tish was the ancient deity. Sorry.
Okay. It works like this. The ancient Greeks were not a unified people, as any story will tell you. For a long time, actually a few centuries, they were fighting off one another all the time. War became the way of living, and fighting was kind of the thing to do. Now, psychologically, it's not good for a population to operate like this, but that's how they did. Eventually, there were some of the Greeks that realized, you know what, we have to stop fighting, else there won't be any of us left anymore. So they turned to philosophy. Now, one of the reasons why there was so much fighting is because of the sense of abandonment that turns into envy and jealousy. Envy and jealousy are not emotions. Those are attitudes based on people feeling abundant, which is actually fear-based. So in ancient Greece, there were priests that approached this entity, and this entity arranged that, okay, if anyone in your city, or anyone, because the Greeks had city-states, polis, the city-states, if anyone in your city or in your village gains leverage and guys not okay with it, don't go after it yourself. Let the priests do some ritual to trigger some negative energy wave because individuals have misfortune. Then the public can get their ease and they can get their hands dirty. Also, if any one of you wants to make success in life, wants to make it in life, you know that the public may be upset with you. So you come and do a humiliation ritual over here. The humiliation ritual makes people feel like there's something on you. So that when you do have the financial or political whatever advantage, people always feel like, well, at least there's something on you. And they get emotional payments seeing that you've been humiliated before. And that's why they now kind of leave you alone. So now you get a charm so that the public will let you be in with your new advantage. Now, this deity, this...
you say a charm, right? Just explain what kind of charm they would get.
Okay. A charm is when, okay, first I need to explain this. Angelic beings are made from flames, and in their natural habitat in heaven, they absorb the joy of the Lord in them, like we do oxygen. And in return, their essence bring forth this masculine strength and this fierce light. They're light beings. Angelic beings have been banned from heaven. They don't feed off their Father anymore, so they are in lack. And because they're in a permanent state of decay, instead of strong masculine light, they emit this green stinking feces. That is what they emit out of their essence.
Yes.
And it's also called ectoplasm in some occult circles. Even some cartoons to show this green light over some of these a green layer of some of these witches or entities. That's why green is also called often associated with witchcraft.
Yeah,
in a charm,
ectoplasm a lot. They haven't put it in. I've seen that.
In a charm, you go to a ceremony and you invite fallen angels, not Nephilim, actual fallen angels, to smear some of their demon feces over your own human energy field. You're covered with this dirtiness, this green dirtiness, but it functions like a magnetic layer that keeps danger out, or negative vibrations away. So it delays danger from you, but it does not actually remove danger outside. That's a charm.
Okay.
You follow me?
But it creates negative energy as it does that.
It has side effects on you because remember, it's demonic waste you get all over you. Yeah. And that alone, your human sexual quality decreases with that. And with that, your whole human function decreases. So you'll always decrease in your physical and mental health a little bit by taking a charm. That's one side effect. Besides that, if you take a charm, let's say a man takes a charm, a money charm, and he suddenly makes 10 million US dollars out of the blue with his business. Due to the demon feces on top of his energy field, all the anger and negativity from the public can't just come to him because it's delayed. Because the demonic feces, it blocks it from reaching him physically. There will still be issues around him, but he himself is covered. But the thing is, a charm will dry up and dissolve after like 2 or sometimes 3 years. So then he needs to renew the charm again. But here's the thing though, the danger is delayed, not destroyed. And he's not a believer that he actually has the power of the Holy Spirit to actually impact circumstances out there. So all the people that are hating on him or jealous about him, all the court cases against him are all delayed. One day he forgets to renew the charm of like maybe 8 or 10 years, and suddenly he's in handcuffs, or suddenly he's found dead, or suddenly his whole family is massacred. All the danger piled up suddenly overtakes him. So charms delay danger, but they don't actually shut down danger. So you have no real safety with charms. The occult or the paganism, as well as Satanism, has no real security, no safety. Don't have delay of danger. So do you understand what a charm is now?
I've seen a lot of charms like that where people wear things that, for example, they will say, don't touch this charm. I've experienced that myself, and where it's a bracelet that they wear, and they'll tell everybody not to touch it. So yes, it does make sense, but it's not really, it doesn't really have any spiritual Christian power.
No, it slows down danger, but it does not shut down danger altogether.
Yes.
And that's a big trick. You think you're actually safe, but you're not. Now, pagans are experienced. They know they have no real safety. They know that. And that's why they're quite reluctant even in taking charms. That's why you have pagans, for example, who can do money charms and get a higher income and live a more comfortable lifestyle. But they don't do it because they know there's going to be sorrows they have to deal with on their way. The only way to get wealth and abundance without any side effects or sorrows is by doing it on your Father's way here and now. But okay, continue, Wendy.
No, I was just saying about these charms, but what I wanted to ask you about before we go on with the charms was that you mentioned before that they would actually go to a temple to perform a ceremony. Do they use charms in a ceremony to summon Fortuna or any kind of demonic entity or fallen angel?
The thing is, you don't understand the difference between a fallen angel and a Nephilim, correct? You understand the difference?
Difference.
Okay.
Fallen angel, there's a fallen angel, obviously, and then Nephilim is the hybrid offspring of these fallen angels.
It's a living physical, a living spirit infection, not made by the Father, but it's still a living creature. But okay, so Nephilim don't have any abilities itself in the earth. Fallen angels do, but it won't be feed by human unrest. But it's thing for you to summon an entity, let's say Fortuna, if you wanna, or Automatia, as it's also called, if you want to summon this Nephilim, listen, you have to go to a specific place to do it. A dedicated temple, where the temple is open in your face, like did in ancient times, a giant building that's decorated, where people go and bring incense and sacrifice blood sacrifices. Or it could be in present day a restaurant or an office building with a forbidden room. In this forbidden room, that room functions as the temple or the energetic portal where you can meet the deities. Is this is clear?
Yes.
So you don't need a charm to do this. But here's the thing, though: when you summon, whether it's a pentagram or any other symbol you put on the ground, use candles, crystals, use some metals you can use. You need to generate a low vibration in the room, so that the entities can actually enter there, actually speak to you and all of that. So you can't have happy, joyful people around. You need to have a low vibration. So if you're there in this room or this location, and you're with a group of people, summon this entity, just realize that the moment you summon this entity, the entity has access towards you directly. So the entity is able to harm you too. So what often happens is that a lot of these people, even though they don't serve the Heavenly Father, they will use the name of Christ during the summoning as security against the demons.
Oh, wow, that is horrible.
So they need to have a Bible nearby. And because if it is a fallen angel knows, even if they're not believers, they mentioning Christ alone in a time of need already, we can fire over us. So we watch out. So demons have to be.
Why do they do that? Can you explain how they do that a little bit more for me?
Which part exactly?
So you said that they might even, are you saying that they might be masquerading as Christians?
No. The masquerading of creation, what you do in daily life, often just to get support from real believers, energetic wise. But when they summon evil spirits, the moment they invite the demon to operate openly like that, they have no safety against the evil spirit. They're at full risk. So what they often do is they either have another demon that's more strength with them to keep the other demon in check. That's what they do. Or they use the Bible over there as a reference to the name of Christ, just to scare the demons into not inflicting damage on them. You follow me?
Yes. Well, even demons have to follow God's orders, so that's
it's not that they want to, but they don't have the strength to just go against God like that. So
yes,
that's it.
They have no authority.
The thing is, there are evil spirits that do go against, that do are wild, like a wild west out there. But that's why Hellel, Women State, has these legions, these militias of fallen angels that arrest them and keep them in check. Yes, the paranormal is one giant mental asylum in civil war all the time. So you know, demons are not unified, and when you summon these entities, you actually summoning unstable entities with a state of conflict forever. So, but when it comes to Fortuna, for example, when people summon this deity, often she herself does not appear. She may be somewhere in Rome or somewhere in New York. She can only be at one place at a time. Even if through the ether she gets echoes, people are calling for her, she can't just appear in all the places. If so, people in Sydney, Australia, people in Cape Town, South Africa, and people in London, Britain at the same time summon Fortuna, she can't appear in all three places. What happens is that you have fallen angels who are assigned by Satan to assist Fortuna. They will show up as a servants of her and to negotiate with the people summoning.
The and people obviously think that she's the one showing up, but these demons masquerade.
Yes.
As right.
And so let's say now you have people in somewhere in Cape Town, South Africa, summoning Fortuna. Let's say you have a politician in South Africa that summons Fortuna now because he wants the political party of the current president of South Africa to go down. What happens is that he and other politicians come to the wizards. They summon this because they have to go to the wizards because there's a political operation they want to do. They summon Fortuna down there. Maybe she actually appears, but most likely it's a fallen angel appearing. And they now would address their concern. And then the fallen angel would tell them what steps to take, which potions to take, so that they can actually start an operation to bring down the political party of the president. If the president and his members of his party have no Holy Spirit in them to guide them, the assault will likely work. If there are believers there in that party of the president, what happens is that the assault will happen, but the effect's going to be minimum that it's going to fail. Well, because Fortuna is about balancing the emotional waves in the community. So human beings in its fallen state, they want confinement of ease. They cling onto restrictions. These restrictions in themselves bring forth unrest and stress that they want to dump at some point on victims. But they want everyone to follow restrictions. The moment you have an outcome in life, any advantage, whether it's financially, socially, or any way that goes against the public's restrictions, the public feels offended, they feel attacked, they feel hurt and injured, and now they want revenge on you. And they go to this deity to make sure that nobody oversteps the societal boundaries agreed by the public. So eventually it's the public that that's demand for whatever misfortune that comes down on the target. You get me? Okay, good. Continue.
Absolutely. So they're basically sorry, what was I going to say now? They cause like psychological terror, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the entity Fortuna herself cannot do much. She's a Nephilim. Yes. She can become powerful locally for a moment, but that's rare. Most time it's fallen angels need to act out, and the fallen angels need a human structure to work through. So again, on a large scale, let's say they want to bring down the political party of the president. First of all, the political party itself may have charm, so that's not going to work that well. But let's say now, forget about the politics. Let's say your sister just got pregnant. Okay, it's just a fictional example. Let's say your sister got pregnant, and you all already have children, but you can't stand your own children. But your sister is happy being pregnant. That reflects back on you, because why can't you stand your own children? Instead of owning up to yourself, you don't feel threatened by your sister giving birth to a baby. Now, even though you don't want to attack her to sort of have a miscarriage, because that means you go to prison. So now you may go to a witch doctor and say, I want to do a misfortune spell on my sister. She's pregnant. I want her to lose a baby. The witch doctor may tell you, listen, You have to go to Fortuna to do this. But remember, if you do this, if it backfires, nobody can help you. You're finished. Whatever harm happens to you. So she may go now to an actual established religious order where they actually are more experienced in worshiping Fortuna. And she says, listen, I have a sister. She's pregnant. She's so happy. I can't stand it. It makes me look bad. I'm on function. And the more people feel the same way, then the priest will say, there are more people feeling the same way? Okay. Someone's just at the end of the call. Can you hear me?
It's fine. So would this be almost like a binding?
Hold on. Wait.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I only can't hear you in my headset, but anyway. Community that can't stand your sister, right? Yes. They also stand the hospital, correct? So now
I was asking, would this take place using almost like a binding spell?
I'm going there. Hold on.
I don't want to jump ahead of you.
So then they tell her, okay, listen, so there is a community base against your sister and her husband already, correct? Yes. Okay, that's easy for us to work through. You know what? Stay friendly with your sister. Here you get a little alcoholic potion over here. Drip it around her house when you visit her. This potion, witches meditate with negatively on it. So on a molecular level, is charged negatively. Drip it around her house. That will give a temporary entrance point for the demons, and then leave. So then you do that, and the demons are able to enter the house. If they're not believers walking by faith, the demons have an opportunity to be there. So now the child is born, but guess what? Later on, when the child is growing up, the child develops diseases early on, or the child develops, God forbid, terminal things like cancer, all of that, or the child ends up being victimized. Everywhere the child goes, and victimization spirits there. Why? Because because the deity Fortuna, together with the fallen angels, they assigned misfortune and sickness demons to that baby, so that the baby now, even after the baby is born, will always have bad things happening to the child. Now that child, let's say it's a boy, can grow up and realize what's wrong with me and look for help and heal from all the trauma. If it's a woman, it's the same thing. But the thing is, sometimes the parents are so careless and so unaware that the spell only lasts for 2 or 3 years. Okay, spells are not that long, but the impact can be everlasting. So it can be that you have that the child is born, and at age 10 the child dies of some disease, whatever, or the child ends up in a big accident, losing a limb, whatever. This misfortune, this tragedy, it's a lifelong impact. It was already set in motion before the child was even born. So that's how the fortune of that couple and the family is brought down, and the ease of the public increases. You follow me?
Yes, you see it a lot where children have all these kind of, especially nowadays, where children have a lot of stomach problems, paralysis, and these are very classic symptoms that you see in today's life. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, let me give you something for you. If someone would shoot you with a bullet, you would have a medical issue in your body. You didn't cause a medical issue; someone shot you. But that they shoot you is irrelevant. The impact happened to you. Now you have an actual medical issue to deal with. So when you look at things like misfortune spells or misfortune hexes that they do, the spell itself will not be it will only last 2 or 3 years, the effect of it. But the impact may be life-changing. Just like if some fires a bullet at you, the bullet is fired, it's over. Pew, the bullet hits you. The bullet is not on its way 2 or 3 years. But the impact can be life-changing. Either you die, you're not around, or you're paralyzed, or whatever. Same thing with spells. Just because the spell doesn't last for long doesn't mean the impact cannot. And I'm telling you, from experience, there are a lot of people going to Fortuna to bring down the prosperity and the blessings and the happiness of their own relatives and friends. It happens so often.
Yes, we do see that. You see envy, jealousy, greed, especially when somebody else succeeds. It's very obvious. And I don't think people always know that they're feeling this, but it is there. You know, there's this resentment that somebody
Okay.
feels because
Okay.
someone else
If someone is a human trafficker, they traffic children and earn a lot of cash and live an easy lifestyle, I can understand people upset with that. You're causing harm to the community, causing harm to have it eat our expense. I get people are unhappy about that, but that is a legitimate reason to be upset. So there's no defect in that. And then, and because it's legit, and because it's legitimate, now you have a healthy way to deal with it. You go to authorities or you boycott an individual, whatever. But the thing is, when people feel abundance and they don't openly feel abundant, it's then that this resentment grows. But it doesn't automatically mean that they turn to accusation, invidia. Invidia is when people refuse to actually admit they feel abundant and to own up to it. So a lot of people may feel uncomfortable with you suddenly have success, but doesn't automatically mean they're going to be a threat towards you. They may be reluctant, but that's not automatically mean they are in invidia towards you. Invidia is when they really refuse to look at their own condition, and now they act like it's all caused by you. Does it make sense to you?
Yes. So they're projecting their own internal feelings of abandonment onto someone.
Yes, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they mask it with anger or with disgust or whatever. So, but the thing is, this is so common in the human species that for generations, centuries, I'd say even millennia, our species had all these social restrictions that we don't even question. Why? Because I have to say, our species is quite fragile psychologically. People feel abandoned so quickly, and people tend to end up in psychosis very quickly, and that's why society in the world have so many restrictions they want to force on you. That's why society is very quick to accuse you of thinking you're something, think you're important. Why? Because if you succeed in any area of life, and it's not in harmony with the restriction that the people are fearfully clinging onto, you're going, even though you're not causing any trouble, it's going to lead to actual difficulty and danger in the community. So, okay, let me give an illustration how to explain this the best for your listeners. There's an experiment done a while back. I'm just going to tell the story very quickly. You had a cage. In a lab, you put a cage there with monkeys in it. Let's say you had 5 monkeys. They put hang a banana at the top, and they put a ladder over there. So any monkey could climb up the ladder and pull one banana and eat it. So eventually, one monkey decided, hey, there's a bunch of bananas over there. I want to get one. He climbs the ladder to get the banana. While it's on the top grabbing the banana, the scientists they use water hoses to pour ice cold water over the other monkeys, freezing cold water. Monkeys are traumatized, even though where the water came from, just having it. Eventually, after the 5th time, the monks realized, hold on a minute, every time one of us goes to get one of these bananas, we all get freezing cold. So next time a monkey wants to go up, they all jump and beat the monkey, almost killing him. So from that moment on, everyone knows, don't even dare to think about going up to get the banana because we're going to beat you up because we want to act like ice cold water. Okay, you remove one monkey, you replace one monkey with another new monkey who didn't experience the whole trauma and the beating up before. So the new monkey sees the banana and says, hey, I'm going to get one. Man, he finds he's not even half of the ladder and it's already bleeding. They beat him up. Mm-hmm. Then you place another monkey. Eventually, you replace all the racial monkeys who went through the trauma with new ones. The thing is, all the monkeys now in the cage are 2nd or 3rd generation. None of them with experience the ice with water being sprayed on top of them. The only thing they went through is the violence from the community when they wanted to get a banana. So eventually, they don't even know why they enact this violence on one another. It's just the way it is. Or it's respect, it's this and that. You just don't do it. It's unwritten rules. And that's how human communities and societies have operated since ancient times.
Yes,
so this worship of Fortuna, is one of the ways, one of the beating ups that is put in place to make sure nobody experiences the ice with water. What's ice with water? That is people lose their mind in psychosis because someone else has an advantage. That's what it comes down to. So, and in every culture almost, you have a saying to tell people you don't think you're something. In Scandinavia, in particularly Denmark, you have a thing called janteløven, the law of jante, which actually says that you don't really matter that much. Which is what it comes down to. You have in Dutch, you have the maaiveld culture. A maaiveld is it's like a farm, a field of a farmer that they actually have to mow. A mowing field. It's a mowing field culture, which means that, listen, if you even think you're important, we're going to psychologically torture you to realize that you aren't that important. That happens a lot in Dutch culture. In Australia and other Commonwealth countries that were brought forth by the British Empire, you have still called the tall poppy syndrome, in which when anyone gets a lot of praise, others have the tendency immediately to use harsh criticism against them. This because human beings that don't serve God, even believers still have this issue. They feel abundant. And when this abundance is triggered, they tend to end up in a psychosis, especially if multiple people are afraid at the same time. So that's why anyone in the world that wants any type of advantage in life, you either are covered by the Holy Spirit, or you get some charm in the paranormal, because if you have neither, you might as well sign your own death sentence, because it's not going to go well with you. Okay, you can continue now.
That makes 100% sense when you say that. I mean, obviously, people seem to thrive off a lot of negativity and envy towards other people in society. You know, you see this. Is this something that is generational? Because whenever you try to cast out any of these demons or fallen angels, they will say, I cast you out and I bind you to the foot of the cross right up until the 4th generation, right? So I guess what I'm asking you is this kind of thing generational, meaning this trauma is projected from one generation
Absolutely.
to the next?
Remember, these societal restrictions are placed on the youth. The youth grows up in them, the youth passes them on. That's how it goes. And the new generation also has abandonment issue, only be resolved when they serve Christ. So the youth that's born will have the same issue, sense of abandonment, just like the parents does. When they have children too, the grandchildren have the same sense of abandonment too. Every human being has the same sense of abandonment until they serve Christ. So only if in a generation everyone serves Christ can this be fully broken over the whole population, but this never happens in the world. There will always be a few families here and there that fully get delivered. So you have fallen angels that follow certain populations for sometimes hundreds of years. Yes, hundreds of years, yo.
They follow them for what?
Hundreds of years. You can have a fallen angel somewhere in a forest area of what they call Germany that's been there for maybe 800 years, and he knows all the 2 million people that live there. They all descend from maybe 500 people 800 years ago, and he knows all of them. You get me? Because he's been there for 800 years. You have things like that. And these are the demons that are consulted by fortune tellers to know things about the past.
Yes. Okay. So that was something else I wanted to ask you about. So let's say you have a politician that notices there's this unrest or imbalance in their city, right? Then obviously, as we spoke before, these politicians will go to a fortune teller, and obviously fortune tellers are then possessed by demons. And do they go to the fortune teller to identify the cause of the imbalance in the city?
Okay.
Or
So what you're
go
asking is,
to, will they go to tell them about the imbalance, and um, and then obviously what I'm asking is, are all these fortune tellers that they go to, are they possessed by demons?
majority of them are. Some of them have demons floating around them. They go back and forth. At least most of them do. But if you go to fortune teller by default, you can assume he or she's possessed. There's a demon on the inside that couldn't get with demons on the outside, because demons on the outside have to go back and forth to gather the information. That's why.
What I want to just establish for everyone, if you watch it, there's a very big difference between actual physical possession, which is not always the case, and a demon that is just hanging around somebody. And so often that's why we're told, don't consult with any kind of fortune teller or psychic or anybody like that.
Okay,
Because
let me explain
yeah,
one thing for your listeners. Human beings we are spirit beings in bodies. Our bodies are fragile. We know that. We don't have to explain to us. Our bodies don't. It's not a match, for example, to the body of a lion or a bear or an elephant, whatever. Our bodies are quite fragile, but we are spirit beings in these bodies. So our advantage is that there's some spirit abilities. Unfortunately, most human beings don't know how to use spirit abilities. One spirit ability is we all can trigger echoes in the Earth's atmosphere and obtain actual information of what goes on the Earth. We all can do that. It's called remote viewing. Problem
yes,
is, most people cannot process information pick up. For example, if I'm in the Netherlands and I want to zoom in on New York, New York has maybe 8 million people over there. If I want to zoom on New York City, and let's say I want to figure out if it's safe to travel, I could just zoom in New York City, meditate on it intensely, and eventually there will be echoes hitting my energy fields with visuals. I can actually pick up shots of what goes on in New York City, not a live video, actually shots here and there. If there's a lot of theft happening, I can see visual people being robbed. If a lot of molestation happening, some visuals about it too, God forbid. But so we all have the ability to remote view, for example. But the thing is, the remote viewing always needs to be combined with actual research. If you do a remote viewing on a place or a situation, do your actual research. For example, if you go with a metal detector in the ground on the field, and your metal detector goes off, it picks up this metal in the ground. You know what it is? Could be a bomb, could be a knife, whatever. It's just metal in the ground. You still have to dig in the ground, see what the metal is. Remote viewing is something you can do on top of your actual natural physical viewing. So, and with the Holy Spirit, the presence of the Heavenly Father in you, as a believer, God can assist in remote viewing too. Sometimes God will block your ability to remote view if something's too much for you. The thing is, so we have these, what they call psychic abilities, all human beings have them. But the problem is, most human beings don't follow.
It's not the same as a psychic, though. I've seen, with my conversations with you, you can do full remote viewing. I've experienced this a little bit when I look at a situation and I might pray on it, and then I just get this feeling. So I might not actually be able to see it, but I get a feeling that something is there that tells me, please don't go, because something feels unsafe. So remote viewing is it experienced differently by different people?
Yes. For example, if you are from a household where your parents were kind of train wrecks, drunk all the time, you're already traumatized. And let's say you go and do remote viewing, and you see a bunch of people drink, and let's say you're about to go to let's say you're about to apply for university, you're focusing on the university intensely with your mind, and suddenly you pick up visuals of people drinking. That may trigger you because it reminds you of your parents who drink all the time. I mean, say I wouldn't even apply to university. You feel it's not that university is dangerous. You just pick up people drinking there, but because you have a history with parents being alcoholic, it may trigger you. But if I do a remote viewing, I pick up the people drinking, I say, okay, so what? So remote viewing is an individual practice of obtaining information through echoes to the Earth. The Earth is an electromagnetic field. All the land masses and waters are content in the Earth. The Earth is an electromagnetic field. And as spirit beings, we are tied to the electromagnetic field, which is the Earth, and we can use the electromagnetic field of the Earth to obtain echoes of information, but we still need to process them and do research. What often happens is that these psychics that you see on YouTube often, they have the ability to work for you like any human being does, but they rely on demons to make interpretations for them. And that's a big problem. For example, if you do a remote viewing on, let's say, your cousin, and you pick up that she's kind of laying down, looking stressed out, it could be that she's going through a stressful situation in her life right now. You know what the situation is. You get called up, ask your cousin, how are you doing? Oh, I just got an eviction notice. And now you know why you picked up, she laid down, stressed out like that. But a demon may tell you, oh, she is about to enter life, whatever. You need to call the 911 on her, she wants to enter her own life. Now, it could be that idea of, and I did cross her mind, but she think, what the heck is this? But the demon wants you to be fearful towards your cousin. So the demon will tell you a fact that's true, but not the truth. It's true that your cousin may have had a flash idea to enter life because it's too much for her, but she threw it away. But the demon will not tell you, he will tell you she wants to end it, even though it was only a momentary thing she had. So a lot of these psychics, I'm not a psychic, by the way, so that's clear, I'm a believer. These psychics, they rely on demons for interpretation, and they trust the demons blindly. And demons will tell you facts that are true, but not the full truth. Because if they told the full truth, you end up relying on Christ. They will tell you enough information that's true to keep you reliant on them. And they will always give a twist to what they tell you, just keep negativity going. And that's why you never go to psychics nor fortune tellers, because the demons will never act in your best interest, ever.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Okay. They never do. They never ever do. So these psychics, they will basically, or the demons around them will just get a foot in the door, so to speak.
Yes. Absolutely.
And they only actually need a little bit of a leeway to get in there, to get into your life.
What do you mean?
Meaning if you listen to anything that they say, or you give them any information, right? Not that, I mean, they already have information, but they only need a little bit of you not believing in Christ to get into your life.
Absolutely. For example,
a little bit of doubt is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. For example,
doubt's likely to get into your life.
For example, let's say you're an investigator and you check some of the psychic readings online on YouTube just to scientifically assess what goes on. You know what I mean? You're not trusting the demons. You don't. The demons may come some twist in it. So let's say it's a psychic, because there are psychics talk about the idea of 4Ks, and some of them come with quite good information. I know this is one psychic from Britain, this woman, and her readings are quite on point. But here's the problem, though. When you look at it, you do it with a scientific view. So say, okay, what are the demons willing to let us know? That's how you need to look at it. And once it's over, you look.
This woman that you're talking about from Britain, she approached me in an email and wanted to come on my show, but I declined it. So
what? She did?
She approached me, she did. But yeah, well, I won't get into that. And I just deleted the email and put it in my spam, and I was, I didn't even say no. I didn't respond to the email because I felt like.
Listen, I'm not assuming she's a bad human being, but someone who has whole relationships with fallen angels, I'm not okay with that, especially if it's a woman.
I just got when I got that message, I got a very bad feeling about it, because she had been on somebody else's show, and I listened to some of what she was saying, and I couldn't actually turn it off. And then when I got the email from her, then it almost felt like somebody had deliberately sent her to my channel, because my channel is pretty small. And so to get that kind of email from her saying, okay, well, I can tell you exactly what happened. and she has her cards, and she's saying she's going to tell this and that. But no. I don't want to get involved in this in any way at all. So I didn't respond. I didn't answer the email. Whether she was sent by somebody, I can't tell you, but that was just the feeling that I got. That, oh wow, women.
First of all, don't trust psychics at all. Okay, you trust Heavenly Father. That's one thing. Secondly, even if the psychic has valuable confirmed information that's true, listen, demons will reveal things that are true to you, actual good information, like to blow your mind so you will come for more. But here's the thing though, demons don't care whether you're ready to handle information or not. You know what I mean? For example, let's say now, for example, your aunt disappeared 10 years ago, and you want to know what happened to my aunt. Now, it could be that your aunt was a wasteful, horrible woman that was willing to throw her family away for some guy she met abroad, some criminal she met abroad. Okay? And let's say that's the case. The Heavenly Father knows this information will not do you good because you're not psychologically ready to process information. Because maybe 5 years from now, you're more emotionally mature and can realize, you know what, some people are just horrible people. Right now, you still are seeking the love of the world. You're still emotionally codependent on your relatives. So if you find out the truth about your aunt right now, it's going to cause depression in you. Now, demons don't mind you getting depressed because, hey, they can feed off of that. It's going to profit them. So if you go to a fortune teller, man, demons are ready excited to tell you all that happened in detail. They can give you access to everything.
They want, and it also, have you seen that? So I thought when I got this, just to give you an example, like people, I mean, she's got hundreds of thousands of views, and you know, the temptation is always there for people to say, okay, well, she's going to come to a channel and it's going to bring hundreds of viewers to my channel, and I don't rely on her information because I do believe that God is going to expose these people.
Yes, and here's the difference. As I mentioned, for demons don't have the concern whether it's going to be good for you or not. Heavenly Father does. So, and there's not a word of remote viewing. There's no such thing as privacy or boundaries on the earth anyway. Those are man-made constructs. So animal can do any remote viewing, but sometimes for your own good, God will block your ability to remote view just to protect you from being overwhelmed by either information or by information arriving you knowing things way too early.
What you say makes sense. I don't think a lot of people are ready for the truth about specifically this case. They're not ready to actually see the truth of what happened. You and I've spoken about it quite a bit in depth, and I'll still go into that in other videos. But I think specifically relating to this case, because it's so dark and so bad, I don't think people are quite ready, or like psychologically, they won't be able to process it. It will come across as so shocking that they'll either feed off of the negative energy or they'll dismiss it completely. So everything that is revealed to you has to be done when the time is right.
And here's the thing. It's not that you want to be a busybody in other people's lives. Sometimes you want answers about your own situation. Why did my husband leave me? Or why didn't I get a job? Things that relate to you. And even then, God can say, not yet. It's because, for example, there are cases known, for example, that someone goes to a fortune teller because they suspect their wife or their husband is cheating, and the demon confirms, yes, they're cheating. The demon even shows the location where it happens. They end up confronting the spouse and end up killing the spouse, whatever. And now you have a whole community traumatized because of a spousal murder. Well, if that individual, father would cause the divorce to happen, and later they realize, aha, so my wife was cheating a while back, but now they're able to process it without them actually falling apart like that. So
you see them, for example, they will have ads in the papers or online. You see this, sometimes if you're scrolling through something, and they'll say, want to know if your spouse is cheating or doing anything, make a booking with us, we'll tell you everything. And I suspect, of course, a lot of people do, because we're taught, well, a lot of people want to know that. But sometimes the only direct way to do it is to confront your partner directly and ask them, because their response will tell you exactly what's happening, right?
Yes.
So we're always taught, like for me, we're taught not to use deceptive methods to get information from somebody. So let's say I was suspicious and said, okay, I want to know if my spouse is doing this or that or the next thing. One of the ways of doing it, a lot of people will do, they'll check on somebody's phone. So we're taught, don't do that, because you're using deception to obtain information. The only way to do it is to directly ask them, are you
But
doing
here's the thing though. Deception simply means you're using a trick to get something done. And
Yes.
deception in itself, if it's done for the right reason, it's not bad. But the thing is, a lot of people use deception because they don't want to actually deal with the situation. But if you don't want to deal with the situation, why even want the information to begin with?
Yes, they don't want that information. You're right.
Then why look for it? So, for example, let's say it's Second World War, Nazi era, and they're not asking, do you have Jews in your house? You can use deception to technically turn them away. In this case, you save financial life. So this deception was practiced the right way. Then my father sent strong delusion to reprobate so that they get trapped in their own self-destruction and leave the rest alone. So God used also, but deception used by common people is often because they just want to escape, and that often leads to deadly consequences, fights and all of that. I just want to clarify this because as an anthropologist, I want to give the full scope to people so they can process what goes on. They don't get half information. But you're right. When it comes to things like your spouse, it's better to ask directly. And if you need to do it, you can do a private investigator necessary. Thing is, going to fortune tellers, I'm telling you, even if your marriage was not in trouble at all, now you actually have real problems in your marriage because demons are involved. You know what I mean?
Yes, and then, oh wow, then everything starts to spiral completely out of control.
Yes. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. Demons thrive off of unrest. So they will never, ever act in your advantage, ever. If you think they will, then you seriously need help.
They never do. They never ever do act in your ability. So that would be in a personal setting of not going to a fortune teller. But when you have a community situation, right, and there's an imbalance, specifically in any kind of city, and these people decide, like, for example, a politician or anybody, and they decide, okay, you know what, we're going to go to a fortune teller and we're going to now tell them about what is going on in this city or this town, right? And they go to the fortune teller, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, as we mentioned, this would be a very, very bad thing. So once they go to the fortune teller, what does the fortune teller do?
Okay, so if they go to the fortune teller because imbalance in the community, first of all, the demons already know why they're there. Mm-hmm. The demons already know that they're coming because of an imbalance. The demons saw it all happening anyway, or demons saw it coming. So demons already know at some point they're going to go to a fortune teller. So demons are already ready. Yes. So the demons are already ready to give the instructions on what to do to bring the balance back. So the fortune teller is not even aware of the instructions. The demons are. Mm-hmm. So if they go to, if there's, let's say, Maria got married. Now people say, what's the problem with Maria getting married? The thing is, people always projected her to either be a hoe or project her to be a dyke or whatever. People had all these low views of her. Mm-hmm. Now that she actually got married, the negative charges that were haunting her are now haunting the people that projected onto her. You know what I mean? So now you have all these disruptions in the community happening. And eventually, the politicians, they go to, or even the religious leaders, and the people go to the fortune teller to ask what goes on, and they will tell, listen, there's imbalance over there. You need to go to see the priests of Fortuna or whatever. Then they go over there, they get instructions on how to drive there or whatever. They go there and they tell them, listen, there's a woman who got married, but since she was a child, people decide that she has to be the loser when it comes to relationships. And people just decided it to feel like they're in control. So all the people that decided that she has to be the loser now are upset, and now there's imbalance in the community. So we could do a charm over here, or you can pay us a sum of cash, and we will make sure she's eliminated. So then you may have to, if you decide, you know what, we don't want any charm. Can you hear me, by the way?
I can hear you perfectly. Sorry, I'm just listening to you.
So let's say now you have, you have a chief of police. Yes, the police officer doing this too. You have a chief of police together with 2 politicians and also a few businessmen. They're in a group. They're at the priest of Fortuna. And they let's say you're in South Africa, you're South African example. Let's say you go to Johannesburg at the temple of Fortuna over there, and the priests there, who are chief warlocks, are listening to them, and they say, listen, there's a woman who got married. Her sex life is beneficial to the community, and this was never supposed to happen. Now the public's upset. You can do a charm on yourself and do a spell to cause misfortune to happen to her, but this may take a while before it takes place. What we also can do is, we have serial killers on the payroll over here. We're willing to take her out. Also,
so basically, these demons use the criminal underworld to conduct.
Yeah. Yes, when the priests are actual human beings that actually are doing the organization. But the thing is, the priest can tell you, listen, we can do the hit for you to one of our serial killers on hire, or you can do a death spell on someone, but a death spell will take a lot of effort to work. But it's going to cost you a lot. The death spell, they cost more. The death spell costs more than hitman does.
Explain a death spell to everyone watching, if you could.
Okay. I'm gonna give a short story to illustrate, so you guys can have full visuals how it works. Okay, let's say Mary got married. Okay, we have just a woman married. She got married. Nobody in her life expect her to succeed in relationships. You get me? Now the people are upset, people are crashing. There's a lot of contention going on. The business owners have a lot of are bothered by it. The children bothered by it. Everyone's bothered by the disharmony now, because people are upset. This woman finally got married. They can't never say why the heck she got married and she's happy now sexually with this man. They can never say that because it'll make it look retarded. So anyway, people are upset. So now you have a politician, the chief of police, and a few businessmen to go to, let's say in Johannesburg, South Africa, to a temple of Fortuna. And the priests there would do the charms and would do the actual pay the hitman or the criminals whoever's needed. They listen to the case. They look at the case and say, okay, listen, what do you guys want? You guys want the misfortune spell onto her to make it crash over time? You guys use the rand in South Africa, correct?
Rand, yes.
Rand, okay. Listen, I'm going to use euros now because I know how much a rand is to a euro. Maybe you can look it up for me. But I know the prices in euros. The prices are kind of standard worldwide for these things. I'm used to euros now. You can check how much it is in the rand on your computer and tell it to your audience. So let's say now the chief priest there in Johannesburg says, okay, listen, what do you want? You want a misfortune spell? That's going to be like 600 euros. Oh, you can look it up and tell your audience how much it is in the rand. You want to do, you want a hitman? That's going to be maybe 2,000 euros, 2,500 euros. Or you want a death spell. A death spell may cost you 7,000, maybe 10,000 euros. In a death spell, what they do is they gather witch covens, groups of witches. They position the witch geographically around the victim. Let's say the victim lives in, let me go to Google Maps and see a town in South Africa that's close to Johannesburg. One moment. I want to make the example as real as possible. One moment. Have you looked up how much the currency is in the rand?
So 7,000. Let me have a look.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, I'm going to have a look quickly. Rands, wow. It is about 134,340. So it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty expensive. 134,000 roughly.
For which one? The
That would be for a death ritual, right?
Oh, you calculated the death spell current
Yes,
price. Okay.
sorry, as well. So
Okay,
it is,
I see Midrand is a town nearby Johannesburg. Okay, let's say the victim, in this case Maria and her husband, live in Midrand. Okay?
Mhm.
Midrand is from Dutch, by the way, but let's say let's see, lives in Midrand. What they would do is they would gather, let's say, 5 witch covens. A coven is 13 witches. 5 witch covens, that would be okay. 5 times 13. Let me calculate very quickly, y'all. It's still morning over here. 5 times 13, that is 65 witches. They would place 65 witches divided in 5 in forests or in restaurants. They would put them in places close to Midrand around, within 20 kilometers, that is, or that's 13 miles for those who use the American imperial system. So within 20 kilometers from the victim, all around, they'll put, let's say, 5 witch covens, sometimes 3, but often it's 5 or more. We put all these witches around. The witches would keep themselves in a low, depressed state of mind, and they would meditate this depressed state of mind intensely in the direction of where the victim lives, where the victim stays. That's what they would do.
Before you go on, I wanted to just mention, as you mentioned Midrand, I don't know if you know about a case. It was called the Waterfall Hotel ritual murder. That was in 2021.
What?
That happened in Midrand, by the way. So what happened was there were 2 siblings, I believe. I'll just have to check this, and I'll actually send it to you. They were sentenced to life in prison for ritual murder because there was something that happened with a small child in a hotel room. You know where I'm going. I don't want to say it on. And yes, they said that this was a ritual. And there was another case also, I think in 2015. There was a 16-year-old boy who said that he was hearing these demonic voices when he actually murdered his own mother and his grandmother. So he described hearing a voice telling him. And he also said that he saw his family were covered in blood, before he did this. And both of these happened in Midrand. So it was interesting that you chose that specific town because I know about those. And Midrand is really situated here in this country where you have all these crimes like voodoo, muti murders, and so we have an SAPS occult unit that specializes in investigation into that, or spiritual intimidation in this country. But
okay. I have no idea. I just looked at the map, and for some reason my eye fell on Midrand from all places for the parable. But guess what? Apparently that place is used for these things. But okay, let's go back to the parable. Let's say now they position 65 witches around Midrand now. They all are faced in the direction where this woman lives. They have to make sure the woman's at home. When they confirm she's at home, they put 65 witches, meditate this intense, heavy energy, toxic energy towards her. And because women are like energy sponges, but they emit negative tension, the negative tension is quite sticky like slime. So now this woman now has this, Maria that lives there in Midrand, she has this toxic, slimy heaviness hitting her. She doesn't know what it is. And that's what happens first. They do this like 2 or 3 days, the way the witches do this. Then you have actual warlocks who actually meditate or sing a death decree on her. They do this within 10 to 20 days. They do this. And once this happens, the woman is already on this toxic, slimy heaviness. And most of the time, she's kind of soaked into it. So by the time the death decree is spoken, the shocks, the dark shocks that hit her eventually will cause her to either have a heart attack and she dies, or she has an accident falling off the stairs, or she ends up in a car accident. And that's how a death spell works.
Oh, wow.
But because a death spell takes a lot of emotional effort that can easily backfire on those doing it, they have to risk their own health doing it. That's why you have to pay so much. And if the target you want to kill is a high-ranking individual, you may have to pay 25,000 or 30,000 euros. So, if, for example, if you want to take out the president of, let's say, Zimbabwe, whatever, you may have to pay your 30,000 euros. If you want to take out a US politician, who's just a politician, a senator of the United States, whatever, you may have to pay 100,000 euros. Why? Because of a higher probability of a backfire, but most of the time is 7,000 to 10,000 euros. By the way, you can calculate it in round for your viewers right now. I'll wait.
That was, I think it was 130. You say 7,000 euros?
7,000 euros to 10,000 euros for a common death spell. If it's a high-ranking individual, it's 30,000 often around that area.
It's about 134,000 South African rand. So, yeah, it's about 134,330 South African rands. So,
and the 30,000 euros. How much is that in rand?
Okay, let's check that. That's 575, so more than 500,000 South African rands.
Mm-hmm. If it's a US politician or an EU politician or a politician from China or some of a country with a higher rank in the world, just a regular politician, 100,000 euros. Check how much it is in rand.
How many euros?
100,000.
Wow.
But if it's a high-ranking politician, often a community effort, a lot of people put the cash together to do the payment.
Okay. Let's see how much that is quickly. That is about 1.918, so almost 2 million South African rands.
Yes.
So almost 2 million South African rands, which is a crazy amount of money.
Yes, but that's a death spell. So first you have to witches and make sure the target is under some stinking, slimy pollution.
A lot of people don't have that kind of money, so it would be very difficult to pull off something like that.
What sometimes happens is you can have a whole town. Let's say you have 100 people in a town want to get rid of a senator, for example, or want to get rid of a celebrity. Yeah, that happens to also do on death spells of celebrities. You may have 100 people, all have a 9-to-5 job, and if 100 people put together 1,000 euros, that's 100,000 euros right over there. Or if it's 500 people that agree we need this input needs to go, then they all have to put in a little bit less. So when it comes to actual high-ranking people, especially celebrities or US politicians or Chinese politicians or EU politicians, it's often a group effort for the death spell.
And I think that's where the money comes in, because it's easier to collect it if it's done by a group.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. So if a death spell is done, then often it's near full moon or close after full moon that the death will take place. Because around the full moon, the electromagnetic wave of Earth is at its peak, so it's easy to manifest anything good or bad. But then when let's say Maria dies now, it's going to be a funeral, husband is a widow now, it's sad, the child is born, it's about the mom now, trauma in the community, demons can feed off of it, and nobody goes to prison because it was a paranormal crime that happened. However, the people that paid for the death spell, they'll face some backfires, maybe later in life. And the backfires also affect people around them. So it could be 20, 30 years later, if still alive, then suddenly this harsh misfortune happened and whatever. So there is a backfire coming eventually.
Okay.
You have people. You have people who get serious diseases later in life. They die of serious disease like cancer or infections, whatever, and the loved ones are traumatized by the sudden death of them. But they don't know that when this individual died in their 70s, in the 60s now, when they were in their mid-20s, they participated to pay for a death spell. And now, over time, the backfire happens. So there's always a backfire coming when you do things like this. So, but anyway.
So those kind of spells are not commonly used. So what other ones? So then they would use a different kind of spell.
A misfortune spell is most common, but that's the cheapest one, 600 euros. That kind of it is, yes. Okay. There are people on welfare doing paying for misfortune spells, just so you know.
People on welfare?
Yeah, there are people on welfare who save maybe 100 euros a month, wait for 6 months, then they have 600 euros, or sometimes 500 euros. They save some cash for like a half year from the welfare, put it aside, and then they go to a witch doctor to do a misfortune spell on maybe someone nearby or an old classmate, whatever. Yes, even people on welfare go to these places.
Okay, so they will actually save that money. And
yes.
What is the reason they do that?
Well, I already explained to you, sense of abandonment. Mm-hmm. See the other as a threat.
When you think of somebody who is in that kind of position, right? I mean, you wouldn't expect them to have that much resentment. I mean, if they don't have the finances themselves to do it, like you say, I mean, they
okay, but you think now as a healthy woman, Wendy. These people aren't healthy.
Sorry,
they're not healthy.
Okay, so I mean, so that's how depraved they are that they will go to that point to actually save the last bit of food money they have.
Yes,
to do this.
They'll compromise on having food in the house just to make sure someone that they feel threatened by is taken out. Yes.
Oh, wow.
They'll do it. And this is why there's some places that remain poor. Some places remain poor because the people there are involved in all this negativity.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
man, there are women.
It's very hard to comprehend somebody that is in that position that's got so much resentment towards anybody that they will say, okay, well, this is my last money I've got. I'm going to use it to.
They could take that cash and start a new course, start a business, whatever.
Yeah.
But hey, because they just want to escape and they feel threatened, so they go based on emotions or the visual needs to go down. There are people that stay in welfare for decades, never coming out. Why? Because they keep going to witch doctors.
Mm-hmm. And of course, when they go to these witch doctors, the main aim is so doing this to the person, maybe like misfortune, causes them to have a bad reputation and causes them to be disgraced in some way, or maybe so that they actually lose everything they own.
Yeah, but so one thing you need to know:
who does this? Do they actually feel some kind of vindication or calmness just for a temporary while after they've done this? But of course, this doesn't last. But I mean, they do feel it for some.
Okay, let me explain like this. When people project their sense of abandonment onto others, if they succeed in either killing or deleting or bring down an individual, they're gonna feel elation for a moment, maybe a few months. But the sense of abandonment is still there. So after a few months, maybe a year or two, now they do it onto someone else again. It's like an addiction. You hear me?
Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't be necessarily a once-off occurrence. They would do it. And as soon as that elation and that happiness, and well, they think they've gotten revenge on somebody, as it wears off, what you're saying is that they're going to do that same thing to maybe not the same person, but to somebody else.
Yes.
They also feel threatened.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Listen, there are people dying of sudden disease, sudden cancer, sudden infection, sudden heart attacks because of these things. Listen, a death spell is not always necessary. if you do a misfortune spell and someone is so overwhelmed by the misfortune happening to them, that can also cause them to die. So in this case,
Yes.
you don't pay 8,000, you don't pay like 7,000 euros, you don't pay 600, and the individuals are also dead. But here's the thing though, these type of things also have a bad effect on people too. If you talk to some guy called Mike, because Mike just got the promotion at work, and you want Mike to lose his job. I do a misfortune spell on Mike. That spell, that toxicity will also affect everyone else at work. So if Mike ends up losing his job for some stupid reason, the company looks bad now. The company will lose revenue now, and the company will be shut down as a side effect. You know what I mean? So now not only did Mike lose his job, 2,000 people lost their jobs, and your family's in financial difficulty, all because someone wanted to bring down Mike. You know what I mean? So this type of stuff always have a wider effect on the environment.
Can it also cause like physical or spiritual distress, meaning it could cause like some kind of mental discomfort initially, depending on what they do?
Okay, what do you mean? With the target, with the victim?
With the targets, with the target.
Okay,
itself.
One thing you need to know about misfortune spells. Misfortune spells often don't work. And that's the funny part of it, because often they don't work, and people end up going over and over again to get it done. You have witch doctors earn a lot of cash with this. People come back to back, paying hundreds of euros just to get something done that never works. And why it often doesn't work is because you didn't involve the target of what you're doing.
Yes, that's something very interesting. So the target, as you explained to me before, always has to be informed of what is being done to them, right? And is this also because the target might have a very positive energy on life, so it doesn't work on them?
Yes. And here's the emotion, because thing is a misfortune. Because thing is, a misfortune spell, actually anyone who's very bitter and toxic can do it. It's simply have a strong negative focus on one for hours a day. That's really what it is. So instead of people doing it themselves and risking the health issue, let a professional do it, who knows how to do it the best way, was also covered by a demon. That's really what it is. And the thing is, okay, let's say you have a guy called Mike, and people purchase, they buy a misfortune spell on him. Mike is not even aware that something bad's about to happen to him. You know what I mean? So when the tension comes, Mike may respond in a positive mood. It all shuts down. You know what I mean? But what if you told Mike, you need to watch out, Mike. A lot of people lose their jobs these days, man. Watch out, Mike. And Mike thinks, yo, calm down, y'all. I won't lose my job. In this case, you already suggest to Mike, you may lose your job. You know what I mean? So the thing is Mike involved? Is on the Mike's no. But if you suggest to Mike, you may lose your job, watch out. You're projecting him a bad outcome onto him. Mike will laugh it off, man, you're paranoid, man, it's not going to happen. Mike will laugh it off. Here's the thing. If a few days later, you do a misfortune spell onto Mike, when Mike feels his heaviness, you already put in Mike's mind the idea of him losing his job. So now that can be triggered. So Mike, we're going to think, oh shit, am I about to lose my job? Or if maybe Mike feels a bit tired often. And it's, oh shit. And Mike thinks, if I feel tired often like this, I may lose my job. Now here's the thing though. If Mike was never suggested in person, you may lose your job, his mind would never gone there. You know what I mean? He may have felt tired and called his employer, sir, can I work from home now? I feel a bit tired. I don't know why. And the employer may tell them, please just go to your medical doctor, see what goes on. Or as a matter of fact, take off work for a week. You know what I mean? That whole misfortune spell didn't even work. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if Mike now has the suggestion in him that he loses his job, his mind may consider it. And now because he considers it, he's now entertaining it. And now he's entertaining it, he's now absorbing the negative tension that was projected onto him. And now he ends up maybe not losing his job, ends up getting sick or whatever. You know what I mean? So involving the target.
In the form of, like it would be in the form of having a very intrusive thought at first. Or
yes.
Doubting himself. Right. Okay.
No. I say if you suggest it in person to someone first, that they may lose their job, or they may end up homeless, whatever. You already put the idea out there in their mind that it's a possibility. If someone is a believer in Christ and they shut it down in Christ's mind, the name is over. But most people don't do that. So it links on in their mind, and when the next tension comes, their mind begins to consider it mechanically. And if they end up considering it, now they may end up acting on it subconsciously, and now they are absorbing the misfortune, and that happens to them. You know what I mean? That's the best way for the misfortune spell to work. You have to get the individual to participate in their own demise. And you do this by suggesting the outcome towards them in a strong way, so that later, when the next tension comes, they may think that it's the outcome you suggest onto them, and they just have to do something about it. You follow me?
Yes. So, for example, if somebody does that, let's say, maybe for you or me, if somebody comes to me and says, well, you might lose your job, then I think, well, so then I do, you know, it's not the end of the world. Something better is going to come along. Because, you know, we do think, I think we think a lot.
You laugh it off in a joyful way. And later on, you command better outcomes for you in practice. That's what you do.
Because you don't freak out and you think, okay, well, you know, if I lose my job or I lose my home or I lose everything else, it's fine. As you know, the Lord will take care of me because He always has, He always will, right? So that's how we function. I think a lot of us, I don't know if everybody thinks that way, but to give you an example, I've had that with work recently where it's very quiet, it's very dead. Okay, so, you know, I want to start something else. But you don't know what's going to happen, but you don't worry about it too much because, you know, well, when the time is right, it's going to happen for you. Or so you don't feel this fear of losing anything because I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah. Listen, a misfortune spell is one of the weakest spells people can do. You know what I mean? It works. It has more probability of working if an individual believes the potential outcome. Yes. If the target does not believe the potential outcome, then it most likely won't happen.
Exactly.
So that's why some people are actually concerned about your life, and they are concerned. Well, the people concerned with you. That's cute. That's fine. But some people, their concern is a bit too graphic. When someone's social concern in a bit too graphic way, it is individuals mentally ill and they need help. You know what I mean? Oh, you may lose your house, Wendy. And then you end up starving your child. They have a whole story of what may happen to you, very graphic. And they kind of are so shocked by it and think, I'm still in my house, y'all. What happened? Either individuals mentally ill and they need help, or they actually are suggesting the bad outcome onto you, because there either is a misfortune spell already at play, or they're about to do one, or people they know are about to do one, and they're just sent to do the suggestion onto you. You follow me?
They're like the messengers that are bad news. Okay. They put you in the state of fear.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I always tell people, beware who you listen to.
That wouldn't work really, for example, in a situation where you aren't buying into that fear, right? So
absolutely not.
No, it wouldn't work, because to give you an example, I mean, I'm talking 10, 12 years ago. It was going off topic here quickly, but anyway, I like story time. We came home the one day and we were actually talking about this last night. My husband lost his job. I lost my job. And we were standing in front of the lounge, and this tree fell onto our house. And it was absolute chaos. And we just started laughing, and we're like, oh wow, you know what? This is crazy. We didn't know what we were gonna do. But we just started laughing because I'll never forget this tree. Rashid, this tree fell, boom, right onto the roof. And I looked at the tree and I started laughing, and I thought, well, I don't think we're fine. I mean, the tree didn't fall through the roof, but it was just weird because we started laughing about it, and we knew we'd get through it, you know. So anyway, yeah, I just thought I would share that.
I'll continue.
Most people, I guess, maybe wouldn't laugh at that, but we did. We just started laughing, and we still laugh about it because really funny because so many things, I mean, you know, there were so many bad things happening, but in the end of the day, it didn't really matter.
Mhm.
So if somebody puts a misfortune spell on you and tells you, okay, this bad thing is going to happen to you, but you just laugh it off or you don't buy into it, then basically the misfortune spell isn't effective.
There will be an effect on your life, in your circumstances, but you won't. But because you're not absorbing the tension, it won't have a full work on you.
Mm-hmm.
You may have a few days of headache, or you may have some fallout at work here and there, or there may be some stuff happening around you that's off, but the full damage will not happen because your edge field's not receptive to it.
No, and it didn't happen. I mean, you know,
If you're younger than 16, this difference. Because below age 16, you can't fend off negative energy charges as a human being. Only from 16 you can do it. So if you're below 16, that's a different matter. But if you're above 16 and you laugh it off consistently, okay, you kind of. What do you say?
Why do you say that if you below the age of 16, you're not able to laugh it off? Why is that?
Look, as a human being, you develop. You started as you start as first like egg cell in your mom, and then you grew into a baby 9 months. And you were born. So your body also had to develop for you to fully function. We understand that.
Yes.
As a spirit, your spirit abilities had to develop too. And that's what I'm saying. Age 16, with some early 15, from that age, the ability has developed in you to shake off negative charges from you.
Mm-hmm.
Before that age, you depend on the people around you.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
That's why many countries, they put the age of sexual consent at 16 as a minimum, because at least they assume you know how to fend off negative charges or sexual charges for other people. In some countries, you're allowed to drive a car at 16 already because you need to be able to do this on the road to prevent accidents. They assume already got the spiritual education you needed. Some do it at 18, but anyway, below 16, only rarely, because at 15, below 16, you cannot fend off negative charges like that. You need the people around you. From 16, some 15, that's rare, you're able to do it, do spiritual exercise.
Okay, that makes sense. The legal consent in this country, I think, is, or you can only get your driver's in this country when you're 18. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so South Africa is 18. I know it's different in different America, different countries. So, okay, so back to when they do these misfortune spells, right? So they've done this on the person. What happens next? Like you said, okay, so you said they'll do it again, and then once this excitement that they feel or happiness they feel wears off, they'll do it to somebody else.
Yes.
Right.
That's how they go on through till the day they die. That's how they go on till the day they die.
Okay. Some people then, obviously, they're not even aware that they are involved in this, right? So we've established they're not even aware that they're doing it, but to some degree, they must be aware. I mean, if somebody does go to a fortune teller or like an individual going to a fortune teller, right? They would be aware that what they're doing. But when you're talking about a group who does this, for example, a group of people in government or somebody like that, does everybody know about this misfortune spell? Or could there only be one person that's aware of this misfortune spell?
Okay. Let's say you work at a government, or you work at a big corporation, or you're part of some community gathering, whatever. If there is an individual in the community that's considered a disruption to the restrictions, there already is negative contention against the individual that everyone can pick up. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So even if people don't know that someone did an actual sports spell on them, when things begin to fall apart on an individual, everyone knows that some serious work's being done. But I can tell you, if it's a government, I'm telling you, they'll have secret meetings with the staff and explain what's about to happen. So yes, people will know exactly what goes on, even if they're not directly involved in acting the misfortune spell. They are going to be involved. And by the way, €600 for a government is nothing, really.
So they're going to have a meeting. Okay, explain to me. So what about, how do they assume that everybody that's going to be participating in the spell is willing to go along with it? How do they ensure that?
Look, let's go to example about Mike. Mike just got a raise at work, okay? Mike has people that support Mike, obviously. There are even strangers where about Mike will support Mike without even knowing Mike. So also not everyone is in on it. But you need a certain amount, you need a base in the population that gets along with it for it to work. If just 1 or 5 people, that's not a good base. Okay. If you have 50 people, it's the minimum of a base you need for the misfortune spell to go through. Okay. 50 people.
Why? So why particularly 50 people?
The amount of, because if you have 50 adults, because 50 adults together, negatively focused, that's a lot of shitty emotional pollution in the atmosphere.
It is.
That's a force that demons can use. Less than 50 is going to be quite difficult.
Okay. But like you say, a lot of them do go along with it, right? So they're going to go along and they're going to say, all right, we do it. And that is obviously because of the resentment they feel. So once that individual is there, right, then it's very easy to make them go along and project their anger onto this person.
Yes. Okay. No, it's just got my delivery. So, but I hear what you're saying. Look, 50 is the bare minimum for a misfortune spell to work. Below 50, you might as well call it off. But listen, the more people are part of the negative energy wave, the quicker it happens. If you have 100 people in a small village negatively focus on someone, you may not even have to do a misfortune spell. It could just easily just happen, the misfortune. If you are in a big city where 1 million people live and 2,000 people are negatively focused on someone, and if you do a misfortune, you can even do a death spell then, it may work within hours. I'm telling you. It depends on how much people are willing to lend their bodies as generators of the negative tension. Follow me?
So the more people, is what you're saying, the more people that participate, the quicker this spell will work.
Yes, and that's why before they do misfortune spells or death spells and all that, they would often smear your reputation first, make people doubt your character.
Yes.
Because people are more likely to feel negative about someone who's questionable. If you have a good reputation, if you have a good stand in the community, it's very hard for a spell to even start. You get what I'm saying? So that's why smear campaigns done first. Or for example, let's say a man has a business and he's making millions and he's benefiting the community by offering jobs, internships, all of that. And let's say the people that want this to be over with. They may send a witch to work as an intern at the company, and the witch at some point will lie that she was sexually assaulted. Just randomly lie about it on social media.
Yes, and social media is crazy because that spreads like wildfire.
In the past, if she claimed she was sexually assaulted, it was stayed within 4 walls. So people say, "Shut up, lady. Where's the proof? Leave us alone." It would be over. But with social media today, there's going to be so many people supporting her, Me Too, feminists, all of that, without any proof. And that alone causes so much negative tension. You could do a death on an individual, and in hours they can be dead.
That does make sense, yes. A lot of people obviously would. Yes, because it's sympathy. It's
yes.
sympathy that they get. So that does make sense. You know, especially with social media the way it is now. I mean, yeah, that kind of story would spread, and people don't even have to be present because they perceive that they experience this themselves. You know, as if oh, this happened to me. So what I'm saying is, when you see a story online, people will look at it and they'll actually live themselves into the story as if it happened to them. They get so emotionally involved in the story. They don't just scroll past and say, okay, you know, I feel sorry for what happened to this person and move along with their day. They get emotionally invested in it as if this happened to them personally.
Indeed. And all the emotional pollution, because people invest in it, also contribute to the spell.
Yes, that part of it. Just a quick thing here. Oh, hi, Inside Your Bones. So what happened with Laura Loomer? Because she's talking about somebody here. I don't know who Laura Loomer is. I've heard the name, but I'm not very familiar with it. So sorry, Rashid, I was just checking on the chat. But, you know, so obviously, sorry, go on, Rashid. You said that everybody who is watching and feeding into it is part of the spell. Otherwise, it won't work.
If they are not emotionally healthy, processing it, then they're part of the pollution that it brings forth. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, that makes sense. Oh, okay, apparently she's some kind of politician. But anyway, no, thank you for the comments. It does make sense. It does make sense. So yes, so this is where basically, as you're saying, they call on Fortuna, right? But of course, it's not Fortuna that shows up, right? It's evil spirits that masquerade as Fortuna, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
Okay, so are there instances where she shows up herself? You know, like Fortuna, like you said in the beginning. Okay, there are some instances where she'll show up herself, but it's very rare where she will actually show up.
Mm-hmm. If it's a high-ranking meeting, let's say it's Microsoft that's about to crash, or let's say that it's McDonald's or some big corporation, or let's say it's the Republican Party of the United States. If it's a big establishment where many are emotionally invested in, that's in question, and people go to Fortuna, she may show up herself.
Okay.
Because it's an honorable thing, so-called.
It could involve thousands or millions of people.
Yes, exactly.
Summoning her to show up. So she may, but from what I understand, you know, she obviously doesn't want to do the dirty work herself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So that makes sense. That does make 100% sense. Does anybody have any questions in the comments? So basically, yeah, we just, you know, we're obviously saying that, you know, your advice for people. Let's say you work for one of these big corporations. How do you protect yourself against these kinds of attacks, like not becoming part of the ritual?
You have to have a good spiritual hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be established in a state of joy mentally. Mm-hmm. You have to work on yourself to feel good all the time. Now, there are times you don't feel good because when sad things happen, then you need to grieve and process things, but always be in a good state of joy. That alone prevents you being sucked into these negative waves out there.
Yes, for sure. And, you know, you believe obviously in the power of these angels that are spirits of light, that kind of they have the ability. So for me, we will do this prayer. Let me bring it up quickly. Let's see if I can bring it up. Whenever I feel something, let me just do an image here. Let me see if I can bring it up quickly. Now, let me know if you can see it. Sorry. Oh gosh, okay, what did I do there? Let me bring it up quickly. Sorry, it might take a few seconds to open it up and see if I can bring it up here. Now, there we go. So let me put this on stage. Let me just see if I can make it bigger. I don't know if I can make it bigger. Anyway, don't know if you can read that. So I have this in my house, and I'm gonna have a statue.
Mm-hmm. I see it.
So, you know, whenever we feel fear in our house, this is what we will use this prayer. And okay, so Saint Michael, I'm just going to read it to everybody. It says, okay, so Michael obviously is not God. We understand this, but we pray for his intervention, right? And it says here, Saint Michael, the archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. Oh gosh, yeah, don't. And do unto thou, prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God. So by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl the world seeking the ruin of souls. Okay. So I always find that to be like a really, really powerful prayer. If anybody wants to, you can screen grab it, and then I'm going to take it off. So Saint Michael is not a saint. He's an archangel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So very, very powerful one. we use that prayer quite a lot in this house.
Mm-hmm. Well, Michael, how it's called originally, he was the one who stood up against Hellel when Hellel was causing his fortune in heaven.
Yes.
He actually took the lead in shutting Satan down. So he has experience in how to deal with all these demons.
Yes.
So I don't understand believers won't ask God or let him intervene. I don't say there's anything wrong with it, but please put more emphasis on the Father, because these holy angels are not looking. They're not looking for any of our praise. They just want. They don't even want a thank you from us. They want us to focus on doing God's will. So just want to emphasize that.
Yes, of course. So I think this is where a lot of people must realize we don't want to focus on him only. We just focus on what God does, and everything is obviously done through God. So yes. Anyway, it's just something that, you know, it's a comfort to some people. Anyway, but yes, everything is done through God himself. And yes, let me just check if anybody has any questions here. Inside your bones. So, okay, yes, inside your bones says, I realized again my pain and conditions are from stress and trauma. Yes, you will see that when you have a lot of stress and everything like that, oh my gosh, then everything seems to go wrong. So you just keep yourself in a state of praying and praying to God all the time and asking for Him to heal you and basically to heal you from that trauma. And that is very powerful because you'll see when you ask God's help constantly, then you'll be surprised at how much healing takes place.
What I do want to emphasize is that, look, in the world, there is no real long-term stability. There is none. So they worship these deities.
There's no long-term stability. Sorry, you were saying no long-term stability?
Yes, there is no long-term stability in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they do these blood sacrifices. That's why they worship these deities. Now,
yes.
About this Fortuna worship, in ancient times, people actually believed that this was the best way to keep the community functional, but making sure everyone's within the same restriction.
Mm-hmm.
The word people realized, no, man, this is nonsense. This is actually violence. But here's the thing, though. There are enough people in the world who are wasteful people. If they get an advantage, they're going to misuse it. And that has been the excuse why this worship of Fortuna was so effective. It's because so many people misuse leverage they obtained. Now, as I mentioned before, the Greeks were scattered in city-states. So they worshipped Fortuna as Tyche at the time, and it wasn't really a big thing. Rome, however, had a whole empire with massive land masses. So they needed stability. They couldn't entertain the idea of city-to-city warfare. So they put a large emphasis on this goddess Fortuna to make sure that all over the empire, things remain functional. And in Greek city-states, if someone in a city acts weird because they think they're the man or the woman because a lot of cash, you can just kick them out and it's over. Not your problem anymore. But if you have a whole empire across the Mediterranean, you can't just kick people out all over the place. You actually need to make sure that in the long run, things function. That's why the worship of this deity became so important, and they installed it as a political deity for the people. That's why the Greeks worship Fortuna too as Tyche, but they didn't. It wasn't really that serious, to be honest. The Romans made it a serious necessity for the functioning of the empire because so much depended on it. And what I want to emphasize is, look, back then, I could understand why people went along with worshiping this deity.
Okay.
Because you don't want the wrong type of people to get leverage and cause harm. But the thing is, for everyone to be restricted in poverty, that's not a good idea either.
Yes.
So the way to deal with people misusing leverage is by having real believers that trust God in charge of the community's affairs.
Correct.
That's the only way. And we were motivated and even encouraged by Christ and the apostles to be on top of our communities in a wise way. It's just that throughout the centuries, many churches became so docile to the world that they began to promote poverty as a virtue and, just wait for heaven and just like everything happens down here. No. The only way to manage balance in the community is when real believers whom God can trust are running the finances and the decision making. Yes. As long as you have these pagans and devil worshippers in charge of the world's finances, of the job market, of decision making, you are going to see sociopaths and psychopaths at the top taking advantage of people. Yes. And in this case, Fortuna is only a cover of what people allow to happen. So, so listen, if someone is an unbeliever and they're ill-informed about how things work, they may be mistaken thinking that this Fortuna is a good spirit to be. But then the father will correct them very quickly, saying, no, it's not the case. So just know, some people are just ill-informed. We can pray for them. But there are people who are just turning reprobate. That's a whole different way we deal with them. We just put repercussions on them spiritually. You get me?
Yes.
So when Jesus said, pray for your enemies, he was talking about listen, first of all, you don't absorb their bitterness. They're the ones that enmity, not you. And a lot of these so-called enemies are just people who are misinformed and act to the best of their knowledge. They're not bad or evil people, but nevertheless, they're seriously misinformed. And if you have people who really are turning reprobate, you praying for your enemies in general means that if you're reprobate, they're singled out and pushed out anyway. You know what I mean? We're not built to chase reprobates collectively. There are believers that God assigned to actually declare sentences on reprobates specifically. Those are around, but overall, believers don't go out and chasing reprobates. Why would we? They're not worth the effort. We need to focus on making the community function. Just want to put that out.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Before we go anywhere, when they ill-informed, there was something in your video that was very interesting, and that was her holding this, basically this wheel of fortune, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about that? How people look at her in that way, like, you know, in terms of lotteries and...
Oh, yeah, sure, I can do that. One moment.
If you don't mind. If you have time.
I have all day. I have no planning, nothing, so I'm good over here.
Okay, good.
Okay, hold on one moment, just one little moment. Okay. The Wheel of Fortune. Understand, pagans use knowledge of the earth to manage life. This is what paganism simply is. You use knowledge of the earth, how it's built spiritually and materially, uses knowledge to trigger outcomes on earth. That's paganism, really.
Yes.
Is there anything wrong with us having knowledge of the earth and using this knowledge to trigger outcomes? No, we're human beings. We're supposed to manage life on earth. The problem is the pagan does it without the guidance of the Father.
Mm-hmm.
And without the guidance of the Father, you end up relying on evil spirits eventually, because you can't do it all by yourself. You cannot. So pagans, for example, they rely on, they worship the moon. Now the moon is a tool that the Father built for our motivation on earth. The electromagnetic waves in the earth are at their peak around full moon. So when there's full moon, the electromagnetic wave of earth at its peak. So that is to motivate us. Hey, full moon is coming. Let's be on our prayers, meditation. Let's be on our good moods. Mm-hmm. If people are at a good mood, if a local population is in a good mood, joyfully, couples, single people, they're all joyfully at this around the same time on full moon, it'll have a good energetic effect on the environment, also on the animals. If you want to materialize things, it's easier for it to happen, because around full moon, the electromagnetic wave of Earth at its peak. So God designed the Earth to go into the electromagnetic waves in the Earth go into cycles, and around full moon at its peak. God designed it this way. Why? And this happens 13 times a year, because our moon cycle is 28 days and 110 minutes, something like that. The same as a woman's menstrual cycle, that is. And you have 13 of it together for 365 days. That's why most calendars in ancient times had 13 months. However, eventually, the Greeks and later the Romans, they worship the sun god Apollo, so they want to use the sun as a symbol for everything they do. Mm-hmm. So eventually, they began to calculate the years based on the sun, not on the moon. But then you have to divide. You can't divide it equally in 13. Because listen, there's always an extra day, because remember, it's not exactly 28 days, 28 days and 110 minutes, something like that. So when you calculate it based on the sun, the moon cycle is not going to be the same each year. You know what I mean? For example, it could be this time summer, the moon cycle is different than last year. Why? Because it's 13. Okay. But so if you base your calendar on the sun, you have to make artificial divisions And they divided it in 12. And by dividing in 12 now you have to decide how long does each month last. And there are many debates about that. So, but anyway, the moon is a tool installed by God for human motivation to keep us at work and active on the earth. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a constant, natural motivation. Yes.
You often see, when it is full moon, you just feel different. Like it's almost like an emotional reset.
Yes. So God built it this way.
Mm-hmm.
You see with the tides on the shores that the moon cycle affects the movement of the waters at the shores, all of that. So God built this motivational mechanism for us. Now, the believer can look at it and say, oh, thank you, Heavenly Father. We don't rely on the moon. We just know the moon is there for us. The pagan does not recognize the moon is built for us, the human beings. They see the moon as a source of their motivation now.
Okay.
So they now believe they now need to give thanks to the moon for even existing. Because they don't believe that they're important enough that the moon exists for them. You see it now? Exactly. Because they lack self-worth, because they don't serve Heavenly Father, they can't fathom that the moon exists for them, for their well-being. No, they say the moon is there, and the moon has a good effect on us human beings. We need this effect, so the moon is superior to us. So now we need to bring offerings to the moon. That's the false thing of the pagan. They're so smart into the science of the earth, but they don't understand that the earth is built by the Heavenly Father. So right on the Heavenly Father, not what the Heavenly Father is installed.
Yes. That's
how it is with pagans. So pagans worship the moon, think the moon is superior, and the moon has rulership over them. No, it doesn't.
No, definitely not at all.
Now, and that's the thing. So pagans are people that I'd say misuse the spirit science to get outcomes on earth. But I say misuse because you do it without God's assistance. And if you do it without God's assistance, you're going to get in trouble at some point. Now, yes. A Satanist, now I'm not talking about the Church of Satan, etc., anti-LaVey in the 20th century, this little cult. I'm talking about this atheistic, materialistic cult they had over there. I'm talking about the real Satanism as we do in ancient times. In Satanism is done by the wizards, by the way, not by regular people. In Satanism, the wizards know about their Father, know about earth science, but they discard both because they don't think life is even worth it. But they want to be relevant while they bring themselves down. And that's why they now on purpose will misinform the people how the earth functions, just so that they can continue to have a suicidal leverage over the public. You hear me?
Yes.
That's the difference between Satanism and paganism. They're not the same.
Yeah, no, definitely not the same.
You can tolerate a pagan to some extent, but you never tolerate a Satanist.
No, not at all. Definitely, yeah, the two are completely different. So, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, thanks, Inside Your Bones. She made a comment here. She said, okay, she asked, knowing the coming buck moon, something is planned. Can tell they put it there. Do you know about the buck moon? It's 29th of July this year. Do you have any comments about that, Rashid?
Okay. I don't know what Inside Your Bones is speaking about. By the way, is Inside Your Bones from Australia by accident? I remember last time I said someone from Australia on your live.
Yes, she's in Australia. She's in Australia.
Okay. A buck moon, is this how do you call some of the moon phase in Australia? Because I know in some English dialects they use other terms for it. One thing I do know is that pagans base their lives activities based on the moon cycle. And Satanists, they pay attention to the moon cycle. So when they want to materialize their suicidal violence on the public, so it can happen more quicker. So it won't surprise me if they've planned something. But if the Satanists has planned something to happen around some moon phase, they make sure that ahead of time they've shown you what they're about to do. In a commercial on TV or in some spam you get on social media ads. Listen, they'll even pay millions of euros, millions of dollars to put spam advertisement on your social media. They even pay millions of dollars at billboards on highways to show what they're about to do. Why?
Oh, wow.
To maximize the fact of it succeeding. That's why.
Okay. Is this also to maximize fear?
They need the public to be at a low vibration for it to come through. So that's why they need to suggest it to the people as much as possible.
Yes.
And about the Idaho 4 case, I'm telling you, they've been putting the suggestion out there they're about to do something like this months ahead. I'm telling you. It's just that now a lot of people are so focused on the aftermath and they don't look at what happened before that. I'm telling you, they were showing it.
Oh, yes, I do think so. And just for anybody who is in the chat, I'm going to do another video probably, I think, next week, because there was a whole parallel investigation that I'm going to get into. I'm still busy working on that. So I'll have another person on that I'm going to be talking about with regarding the parallel investigation, because there was a whole investigation before this case even happened. So as I'm going through the documents, it's taking a little bit of time for us to go through the documents and everything like that. But okay, thank you for that, Inside Your Bones. But getting back to the Idaho 4 case. So yes, Rashid, I do believe that this was highly organized. The fact that they say that one person could have done this, just randomly drive past that house and perform a random attack, go into that house not knowing who is where, whether they're sleeping, having never been in the house, and take out 4 students all by himself is literally impossible. I think if the person maybe had a few hours to do this, maybe, it just seems ridiculous to me. But when you look at the whole ritual nature of this, I mean, I did show you some pictures, and I haven't released them yet on my channel because, I don't want to get struck down, anything like that. But it is very disturbing because I do not believe that this was random. So, as I mentioned to the other night, there were things where Kaylee had actually mentioned to the guy at the vape shop that somebody's stalking her. Inside Your Bones, you can just confirm if I'm correct on this. So she was very aware that something was going to happen. So was all the other students. That's why they came out with these stories. Okay, they went out with their golf clubs to go and see who was lurking in the woods. So I think these 4 students actually knew, listen, somebody is watching us. And they must have known, because initially I dismissed all these stalking as, okay, you know what? This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. But it does make sense. You know what I mean? To me, the more I learn about it, the more I realize that these 4 students were actually living in an absolute state of fear for a long time.
Yes, they were. Absolutely. And listen, I looked at this case. The first time I heard about this case, it happened on November 13th. I thought to myself, yeah, okay, first red flag, the date. Oh, 4 students of this 4 to 6. Okay, and 3 of them are women. Okay. Yeah, I already realized, hey, this sounds like a ritual to me. And the more came out, the more got confirmed. Okay, they think we're stupid. What? No, the public was smarter than I anticipated, y'all. You have people, even professionals worldwide, who say this thing stinks. And now they're coming out openly with books saying that this case doesn't add up. So they were way too overconfident in the ritual they've done. And now they're scratching the piece like how we're going to make, what we're going to do about it now. That's really what's happening. But I'm telling you, for a ritual like this, it wouldn't surprise me if 2 years ahead they already plan to do this.
Oh, yes, for sure. Becomes so apparent. I didn't time exactly how long it would have taken, but I imagine it would have taken quite a bit of time to select who they were going to target. Remember when they first came out, they said this was targeted attack. And I think that was a little bit of a slip of the tongue. And then they later said that it wasn't. But I think initially they didn't think things through, backfired on them to some degree, saying, okay, this was a targeted attack. But how did they know that this was a targeted attack without having a suspect? It's not possible. How can you say it's targeted if you don't even have a suspect?
You can't. And so normally they would wait, they would have a spokesperson who's experienced in rituals to do the work for them, to write a speech, all of that. But in this case, he went ahead and made all these statements without the assigned individual to do the talking for them.
Right.
In these type of rituals, there's always a spokesperson that they assign who's already familiar with the rituals and how it affects the public, how to speak. In this case, in do it, everyone was running their mouth, y'all. Everyone was running their mouth. I thought, okay. This looks quite retarded over here, y'all. Really. But then you figure out, well, indeed, these people don't know what the heck it is they're doing, y'all. They really don't.
Yes.
But anyway, that's how it happened over there. But one thing I say also, these victims, I dare to say they were sold out by many people around them, y'all.
Oh, yes. Yes. There were a lot of people. And, I saw conveniently now, there are so many images of these girls on social media, right? And often they seem, I don't know if you can verify this inside your bones. Some of the pictures taken of these girls when they were on holiday, I've seen pages coming up, and there was a lot of jealousy involved, with the girls living in the house. In fact, the one girl, Ashlyn, moved out, and Kaylee was on her way to move out, right? So there was a lot of resentment towards the victims because if you look at some of their pictures, going back to what I'm saying is, whenever people see these girls on social media, you even see that some of them try to change their appearance. Like, like, for example, Kaylee, because people always focused on Maddie in the beginning and saying, okay, Maddie was the target. That's how they tried to spin the story. Like they said, Maddie's the target. Koberger had a crush on her, and that's why he went after Maddie. And the first time I heard that, I thought, that seems strange. How do you know this? Because there's absolutely no connection between him and these girls. So the initial story was that he was following her on social media. Later, of course, it came out that there's no evidence. They took his phone. There was no evidence that he had any interaction with these girls online at all. Right? So there was nothing like that at all. So they seemed very happy, these girls. I mean, they were always on social media doing these dances and singing and happy and all of that. And the media emphasized that quite a bit. Okay. So now I don't know if this was what caused the jealousy or if, well, I don't know if I should say this, but they seem like the other two, the surviving roommates, were not really part of their group. Like there was some anger. I think, well, I'm going to say this is my challenge, just my opinion. Just if anybody watching, this is just my opinion. I always picked up, looking at all these happy posts where these girls are, that there was some measure of resentment, specifically with other two girls towards the victims. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see what Inside Your Bones say. They're jealous because they were insecure because of their trauma. Yes, Dylan has a lot of trauma, that girl. She comes across as a victim. You can see that like so clearly, hey. No, I don't think they were mean, the victims at all. People have tried to actually say online, I've seen some people saying that these girls were very mean, but I don't know. I don't believe that. So, all right, Rashid, go ahead and.
Okay. Let me say this first. All the girls, the property of the young women, the ladies, were mean, they claim.
Yes.
Okay, since when are women butchered with a knife because they're mean? Just like that, by a random stranger that had no connection towards them. We just follow them on social media. No, listen. I've seen on social media some of these victims. I believe one or two of them are closed down. Some of the survivors, this social media is on private, so I didn't want to go and ask to follow. I don't get too involved like that. What I'm saying is, when you look at the social media presence of these women, the one thing that stuck out to me, that it was a bit artificial. It was a bit too much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yes.
listen, if you're an influencer who gets sponsorship, you show yourself a lot, but people can see you're showing a lot of products often, or a certain location, like a restaurant, or whatever. For example, if you're an influencer in Paris, show a lot of the Paris monuments or the luxury in Paris. That's different.
Yes.
But when I look at their social media, it's like it's an excessive display of having a good time.
Correct.
And listen, I could tell you one thing. When people are excessively posting on social media like that, it is because they want to convince you of something they don't believe themselves.
That does make a lot of sense.
I mean, if you have a happy life, you may want to show it once in a while here and there with some proof. People say, hey, yo, I have a happy life. Don't worry about me. Or, yo, look at this. I just got this. I get it. But for you to keep posting over and over again in a happy mood, it's like you desperately want to convince people. Why just trying to convince people because you don't believe it yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot this type of conversation on social media. And I'm just saying that there was this stress happening behind the scenes in their lives. And some of them, I would say, were using social media as a distraction from the stress was happening. And here's the danger. In that distress, whatever was going on, the wizards had an opportunity to select them as the target.
Mm-hmm.
But even then,
that their happiness, and I think a lot of people do relate to this, it wasn't genuine happiness, that they were portraying on social media. So this opened up a big opportunity for people to target them.
Yes. And the thing is, look, there's no wrong with posting on social media. Social media is just a medium. It's a tool. Social media is not bad or good. It's just a tool. Just like television is a tool. A radio is a tool. Sending post letters is a tool. It's just a tool just to transfer a message. So it's not wrong to use social media. But the thing is, how do you use social media? And unfortunately, too many people use social media to escape. Listen, when social media kind of developed early on with MSN Messenger, and it was 2001. I was 10 years at the time. It was a very new thing, quite exciting. Everyone had each other's MSN all the time to talk. Then you also had MySpace at the time. Wikipedia was in the beginning phase. So social media was a bit more social back then, but since Facebook came up, the first time I saw Facebook, what type of prison system is this? It looked quite horrible, yo. I thought this could never work. Guess what? They put billions into it, and now it became the main social media. I thought, how is this even possible? You know what? Let me use it just because it's useful. Then it began to connect all the services. Then it became to copy it. Then it became to this and this. So social media now, it's more built like a CIA database than actual medium for you to actually get to know people. You know what I mean? It's kind of how it's structured.
The original purpose, but it kind of spiraled after,
It's spiraled out of control because it's all about making cash on the expense of people. That's really what it is.
In the beginning, Facebook and Instagram and all of that, it wasn't like that. People just could find old school friends and stuff like that.
And things, one thing you need to understand about the human species is our human species is quite neophobic in the sense that we are not that comfortable with anything that's new, even if the new thing is better than what was already there.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the time on social media, you even liking the picture of a woman you didn't know could get you in trouble. We want to beat you up and all of that. I remember that time.
Yes.
I remember even having someone in a social media list. I couldn't explain how you knew them. People look weird at you. And again, there's nothing wrong with meeting strangers online and building bonds. I mean, I did it since 2010 and all of that. So I already know how to do that. So even before I started universities. So there were people doing that, but it was frowned upon. Now, since 2021, though the COVID pandemic, it's kind of known to establish online before you meet in person. So, but I was kind of ahead of it for over a decade. But what I'm saying is our species is neophobic, which means we're not that open to anything new if the new is better. So you have social media now where a lot of people are displaying their happiness. Is there anything wrong with that? No. But guess what? A lot of these people out there feeling worthless on the inside, and they're confronted with your happiness. They don't feel threatened by your happiness, and I wanted to rob you, all this other stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Even though the happiness is fabricated, it's
so even if the happiness isn't real, people are going to feel rejected, excluded, and worthless because of it. And now they may develop resentment towards you because of that.
So you see, even anybody who is using social media will compare their kind of behind the scene life with like a highlight reel that they see of somebody else. And this will obviously create a lot of envy and make them feel very inadequate, and it will affect their self-esteem. We do see that happening.
The thing is, some human beings are mature. Social media is just a medium. That's it. But for a lot of people, because they lack self-worth, they see social media as confirmation. That's what the problem begins. Social media is a medium. It's like a newspaper is a medium. But social media is a medium you can actually edit yourself instead of a newspaper. But it's just a medium. But people treat it like confirmation, That's why I developed mental health issues on that. I always wondered why does someone get mental health issues on social media? It's just a damn medium. But that's the thing. A lot of human beings aren't mature to deal with technology. Even I'm talking about grown folks over here. Can't do it. So you may have Kaylee Gonsalves, for example. She may be posting all these happy pictures online. And I'm telling you, there were women seeing all those things and feeling, why does she have the good life and me not? What does she have that I don't have? And there's just all this unrest on the inside. And some of them will be bitching, complaining about it to the boyfriends. And before you know it, you have a lot of men also being upset that Kaylee's all in the air all the time. It's not even her fault because women complaining about her. I dare to say that was we're not doing victim blaming over here. We're not blaming Kaylee for anything that happened to her. I'm just saying, her posting on social media like that in an unwise way, unbeknownst to her, triggered resentment towards her. And it's not their fault. The people have to look at their own lack, at their own abandonment issues, but actually in the world, people don't do it. So a lot of people began to accuse her to avoid their own sense of abandonment. So it developed that invidia towards her, which turned into envy. And this was a negative energy pressure in the earth that developed, and this was made her the easiest target possible. You see what I mean?
Oh, yes. I do think, I still believe that she was the main target.
So what I'm saying is, when I look at this case, I don't believe all four of them were the intended target.
No.
I believe, I can be wrong in this. If you can prove me wrong, you prove me wrong. I have a right to have an opinion based on the evidence and proof shown. I believe that Kaylee Gonsalves was the main target for the sympathy ritual, because the Germanic, people from Germanic descent tend to worship Odin, these Germanic deities. So when they do rituals like this, often target women, while those that follow the Greek tradition tend to target men.
Yes.
So it wouldn't surprise me if she was the main focus, but at the last minute realized, you know what? She's back into the house, y'all. But other people in the house. Also, this dude is in the house. Why is it dude over there? You know what? We need to I think at the last minute they realized, you know what? We need to change the ritual right now. We need to make it. I don't think it intended to a quadruple murder. I think it was meant to be a single date gone wrong or whatever story. And it will be a big cry event over the United States, and eventually they call it a day. But because of the social context.
So when you say that, here's a question for you. I do believe also that Kaylee was the target. So the first question would be, why would they try and frame Madison Mogen as the target? I think obviously because it went wrong. And the second one would be, if Kaylee was the target, wouldn't there have been a better way to target her by herself? Why do you
wasn't she in Texas before she came back? I'm not sure. Was she in Texas before she came back?
No. So she went to her parents. They're up in, I think, northern Idaho, right?
Oh, I know there was one of them had something to do with Texas. Anyway,
she was going to move to Texas.
Oh, okay. She was planning to move to Texas.
She was going to move to Texas for work. Yeah. And so then I think Dylan went to her parents' house and fetched her and brought her back for that weekend.
Look, it would have made more sense to invite Kaylee to a specific celebration over there, whether it's a festival or a house party, whatever. And once everyone walks home, then you have the weirdo doing his thing. She goes missing for weeks. You can't find her. Body is found. And now you have this big sub story coming out, sympathy for Idaho, and over it. And that would be more logical to do.
Yes.
However, because you had her being brought back, that wasn't part of the plan. You know what I mean? Because she was now in a house where there was a couple also. So at the last minute, I dare to say it all got mixed up. So the original plan couldn't go through. Now either they stopped, or either all preparation was for nothing. Because remember, Idaho was in a very messed up political situation. So this ritual must have succeeded to cover up the scandals of the state. So either all preparation was for nothing, it would lose their momentum November 13th. Because they had to mathematically match for it to work. Or they, at the last minute, they extend the ritual and it becomes a quadruple murder. Or they have to kill all 6 in the house. I believe there was a last minute adjustment. And because of that, not everyone was informed on time of last minute adjustment. And that's why the news came out that 4 were killed. Some thought, 4 killed? I thought it was only meant to be 1. Why suddenly 4? What happened? I don't think they communicated well the last minute adjustment. And that's why, indeed, they did do the ritual by extending it, by having 4 victims, but didn't communicate on time why the last minute change. And that's why they were miscommunicating over backward, and that's why it all got exposed like this.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so Inside Your Bones said, here, I'm just going to show this comment on screen. So you can see it happening there. So here's something interesting pertaining to those pictures I showed you. Like Inside Your Bones says, like kept somewhere and used for programs, experimenting. Do I feel Steve was acting very weird? I paid that bill. Yes, he did say that. He said he paid that bill. That was something that he mentioned in the beginning. And he also mentioned something that I thought that was very interesting. I was looking at it the other night, and he said, if people knew what really happened, they would be shocked. Okay. Inside Your Bones, do you remember him saying something like that? What was this comment here? I also saw this person found leaving coded messaging saying Kaylee's alive. I don't know. I don't know. It's very difficult. I don't know if they would have left her alive unless there was any reason to do it, like if she is possibly missing or being used.
Look, one thing I want to point out over here is when you have remote locations like Idaho. Anyway, this is something that happened a lot with Europeans that settled elsewhere in the world. Everywhere in history where Europeans went across oceans to settle their own overseas communities, like they did in Australia, like they did in North America, you would always have these pagan towns where people got away with the most gruesome stuff because law enforcement and also the government was weak. Oh, and by the way, Australia, there are some dark rituals happening down there, over there, y'all. And I'm telling you, the Australian police and politicians are quite dismissive. So yeah. So we talk about Idaho 4 right now, but I'm telling you, Australia has some very dark rituals happening too. And hey, if most of the people are from Germanic and Slavic descent, there's more incentive to keep it quiet. So that's what I say. I need to dive deeper into Australia to see how it all connects. I'm telling you, Australia has some dark rituals going down there too.
That's very interesting.
So, but anyway, look, you need to understand this. When they do these type of rituals, it takes months of preparation. If it's a political ritual they want to do also, then especially if it's political in nature, it sometimes takes 2 years before they do something, because they want to make sure everything is set right. Everything with Idaho 4 case kind of shows me it was a ritual gone wrong because they made adjustment at the last minute, and now nobody has the story correct. You get me?
Correct.
And
if the ritual went wrong, though, why would they use so much force on the other victims?
Look,
like Sana and Ethan. So let's say now this ritual goes wrong, right? Because looking
when one thing you need to understand here, these rituals are enacted by assassins who themselves are either demon possessed or completely messed up on the inside.
Yeah.
You don't send someone that's a clean professional to do the job smoothly. No. I mean, if you wanted to kill 4 people with a knife, wait till they're all asleep, sneak in, slash at their throats at the right places where they'll sleep. It's over with. You leave with your gloves on, professional hit, slow, throat slit, smoothly. No, but if that would happen, everyone would know this is a targeted hit. By hiring people, by sending people who are already filled with rage and let them go loose on the victims, you give it credibility that it was a maniac on the loose. You hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That
If
scares the living daylights into the community. I think that was the intention.
also you want it to be as gruesome as possible to cause terror and fear in the people.
Mm-hmm.
A few slips here and there will not terrify people. Even though they went quite overboard the way they did it over here, for real.
Yes.
I dare to say there was so much at stake in this ritual that the last minute adjustments caused extra sorrow into them that they just went fully crazy. That's what I pick up with this.
I always had a feeling, because I don't believe that any of this happened inside that house. If I look at the crime scene photos, it indicates to me that it did not happen inside the house. I've always had that feeling since I started looking into it that this happened outside and it was staged later, specifically to make it look as if these victims were murdered while they were all asleep. That was the official story in the beginning.
And when I heard the official story, they were all asleep. I thought, you guys are capping over there. Oh, capping is American. American English way of saying guys are lying. You guys are faking it. Anyway, you guys are hoaxing, but that's a better. You guys are hoaxing. They were all asleep. Hey, yeah, oh yeah, get out of here, get off. I don't believe it.
Because if you look at the fact that Dylan said she was asleep, but she woke up, right, and she heard Kaylee playing with her dog. Okay, that indicated to me that, well, if you heard that, you weren't asleep. Okay. If you hear Kaylee saying there's someone here, or Stana saying, crying, like she said, she heard Stana crying, and then somebody saying, it's okay, I'm here to help you. And then other things that she said she heard, Bethany also saying that she heard cups falling. Okay, that indicates to me that they were not asleep. So why did they feed us that story in the beginning? Okay, these victims were all asleep. Was this to gain sympathy?
No. Look, if you say they were all asleep, they were attacked, that means that there's not much gore over there. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Later, the gore was added to it. That's why I told you. At the last minute, they made adjustments because they couldn't afford to miss the deadline. It wouldn't surprise me if they were planning this thing since 2020, when the pandemic hit. I think the pandemic exposed the dysfunction of Idaho even more. And during 2020, said, okay, we need to do a big sympathy ritual over here. Let's begin to look for targets. And eventually, they found a target. And I think they really didn't want to go through another selection for another few months. So they said, we're going to do it right now. We're going to adjust a little bit. But they not inform everyone around about the adjustment. And that's why the witches and warlocks that were influencing the media couldn't give the right story on the right script on time. They began to contradict one another.
Yes. Yes. So basically, the whole ritual went wrong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. Okay. Let's entertain. This is just a suggestion. This is just a hypothesis. Okay. What if around 2 a.m. when they were in the house, one of the 8 witches came by, or warlocks, whoever came by, to check whether the setting was correct. And suddenly he saw, okay, things have adjusted. Okay, you can go now. A few minutes later, many ski masks enter in. And suddenly they say, whoa, why are you guys here? And suddenly they grab Kaylee, stab her, all of that. They say, what are you doing? They try to intervene. And yeah, but the guys with ski masks, they're new to this. They haven't really done this that often. So they now decide to have some fun with the victims before they actually take them out.
Yeah.
And then they leave. In this case, the neighbor knows, oh shit, something seriously went down. And now the 2 women in there were told clearly, you keep your mouth shut because we know where to find you. So Dylan begins to call her dad, her friends, all of it. And then they say, okay, hold on a minute. This ritual went down. So no. Listen, stay calm. Let 8 hours pass. And then in the morning, we're going to call the police, all of that. And then eventually they called the cops. And at the police station, there were some warlocks. They're already aware of what went down. So they were sent to the scene. And why 8 hours? Because 8 hours refers to the age. Age is an X, refers to Helios also. And then they told the survivors, okay, this is the script you're going to follow. Even though the script had holes in it. I may be wrong, but that's how I think this whole thing went down.
So if they went in and they grabbed Kaylee, right?
Yeah.
What would have happened then with the other three?
The archer would have been alert by all the screaming and shouting. What the heck goes on over? They would have come, and there would have been grabs too. What the heck goes on? And maybe it could be that Ethan recognized one of the guys behind the screen once. Oh, what? I talk about brothers. What are you guys doing? We're fraternity and all this. And maybe they tried to tell Ethan play along with it. It's a ritual. And Peter said, hell no, I ain't doing this shit. You all stop this shit. And that's why they went with alternate plan to have all them four killed. So there was some struggle in this.
There was definitely a struggle in that house. And you can hear that on those screams in the video, obviously, because it seems like there's a lot of torture going on. Now, we don't know if this happened inside or outside, because if you know about that white car, that was a law enforcement vehicle. So it wasn't Coburg's vehicle. Because they originally said that his car was a Nissan. Now, they've never been able to put him behind the wheel of that vehicle. So there's another guy whose channel, you can actually go and look at it. His name is Mark B. And he shows that this car does not belong to Brian Koberger. So without a doubt, that was a law enforcement vehicle. Undercover cops. So from what I see in images, a lot of this didn't, like I said, I don't know if it happened inside the house or outside, because on some of the audio, you can actually hear screaming. We don't know if they've manipulated the audio. It's very easy to do something like that anyway. But I think law enforcement was in the area. Like, you remember when we spoke the other night about them going, and that video surfaced of Zana that same night. So they go over because of this noise complaint, and they basically threaten Zana. That was pretty early on in the night. And you can see how scared this girl is, right? Because they were over there all the time, threatening these students. So I think that's where part of the fear comes in, is these students. I remember that video where you saw her opening the door and she's in absolute shock, you know.
I guess you.
Inside Your Bones says they were more like watching out, like lookouts. Yeah, possibly they were, because I won't be surprised if they're involved. That's just my opinion. Don't take me seriously, anyone. I'm just saying it's my opinion, because, I mean, these guys, how come they were all around? What was their car doing there? Yep. They were in the area so conveniently at that time when they said that this was Koberger's car that drove into the neighborhood. Well, we've already established that that is not his vehicle. So the question is it law enforcement? Why were they driving around so many times, circling that house? Because if it isn't his car, I mean, remember, they used that vehicle to put together the whole probable cause affidavit to arrest him. Okay, that was the vehicle. That was very important in that probable cause affidavit. So the fact that it's not his vehicle, remember, that would have been left for a jury to determine. I think a lot of people don't realize that that was just used to put together the probable cause affidavit. But in a court of law, a jury would have had to determine, okay, is this Brian Koberger's car? Now, I'm not going to go off topic too much, but, you know, the essence of it is they couldn't make up their mind between, was it a 2011 to 2013, and then it became a 2014 to 2016 model, and you can go have it, look at his channel if you get a chance, but, you know, not his car. So I kind of wonder if part of it started inside the house, or if it started as they were getting home. I guess we'll never really know exactly how they did this.
Look, based on, I'm not saying maybe one of them was killed outside and brought inside. That could very well be the case. But something went down in the house. And maybe not all of them were taken out in the house, but it went down in the house, y'all. And crime scene experts even pointed out that the videos and footage about the crime scene don't match with what they was said in the courtroom.
Not at all. They don't match.
And they demolished the house while investigation is still ongoing, based on emotional reasons. I'm sorry, but there's no country on earth where any judge would agree with demolishing a crime scene while investigation is still ongoing.
That was very shocking. I mean, why would you demolish it? And the excuse was, it would be too traumatic for jurors to walk through this house that has been...
Whoa. Too traumatic? Then you need to find better jurors then. Sorry. So since, okay, thing is, if it is traumatic because 4 people were killed already, so for any juror it's going to be traumatic. Or it's too traumatic for them to see all of this. We're going to demolish it. So we're going to demolish all the evidence. So we can't do any further research. When that demolishment happened, what should have happened was, there should have been letters written to the governor, letters written to the White House. There should have been a whole political movement made to put Idaho in question. That's what should have happened.
Yeah, Inside Your Bones brings up an interesting point. Yes, they did say that as well. They did say because of the toxic chemicals that were used as well. So I did see that as well. But there were 2 stories. One, they said it would be too traumatic, very impossible. And the other one was because of the toxic chemicals.
Whoa. What toxic chemicals? So they didn't do any experimentation on that, just collecting samples from the house. Which toxic chemicals were released while investigating the crime scene? Whatever excuse, and if there was toxic chemicals, you need to give the students temporary housing elsewhere. What is the problem with that? You get millions in tax dollar funding anyway from the federal government. So why not have temporary housing until the case is done with?
Exactly. I've never ever seen.
I'm telling you,
a crime scene.
I'm kind of disappointed people didn't put pressure on the White House to do a direct investigation over here and put whole state of Idaho in question. That is what should have happened. But the fact people remain silent like that, for the most part, only complaints behind the scenes, that show me that these type of corrupt things are kind of common over there. That's why people are not that surprised. I know for sure if in the Netherlands here, by the way, we are a kingdom over here in the Netherlands. We have a king over here. If here, there's a crime scene that happened, and they demolish crime scene, okay, so ongoing, man, people won't keep their mouth shut about it, y'all. Even though people are nonchalant about a lot of things in the Netherlands, if something like that in your face, people are going to be very upset about it, y'all. And the Dutch parliament will have to come out to make a statement about it. But United States? Idaho? No, y'all. Unacceptable. So the fact that demolished the crimes, even when the case was ongoing, for me, the whole case is illegitimate. The whole case is bullshit. You have to preserve the crime scene. It's not at some roadside that you need to give free for cars to drive again. No, it's a house that can be sealed off for even years if necessary. Should have kept it there to research over and over again, second opinion, third opinion, until the case was fully done with a trial. The fact that they demolished the house and now they pressure the guy to take a plea deal, for me, it's all a racial cover-up. I don't believe anything they tell me about the case, y'all, from official sources. I don't.
You know, look, the media came in and they pretended to be very upset that they demolished the house. You know, but it wasn't genuine concern, you know what I mean? I think they were more outraged because people like Nancy Grace and...
Because now it's obvious it's a ritual, and how are they, the news presenters, going to sugarcoat it? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Think about it. If you do a ritual like this, these things happen more often than we realize. So a lot of these people in mainstream media know these type of rituals happen, and they're prepared to play dumb in front of the camera, to play the role, even if they were not officially part of it. But now you demolish the crime scene, and they, the crime boards, have report on it. How are they going to sugarcoat it now? Now they're going to be in question too, and their careers too. So now they're drawn all the way in the scandal, something they never wanted. That's why they were outraged. That's now you incriminate mainstream media too.
And remember, it was the university actually president. He said that it was a healing step, right? And they also said that that they didn't want this house to become like a traumatic reminder or like a tourist attraction.
Listen, all these arguments are bullshit.
Exactly.
The case was ongoing. If the case was solved with a trial, proven beyond reasonable doubt that the guy is guilty, and then you want to demolish the house, okay. Now the case is solved. But while the case is ongoing, you got with all these reasons, you just don't. I'm telling you, the ritual failed because there was miscommunication. They changed it at the last minute, and nobody wanted to go down with the scandal. This is why they wanted to over it as much as soon as possible. This was going on.
Yes, they didn't.
I can't be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's what I expect it to happen to me. I have a right to have my opinion. So what I said is alleged, okay? But nevertheless, I believe that's really what happened, yo. But now mainstream media is involved too, and now people think, what are we going to do with this case?
Yes, because certain people like Nancy, Nancy, I can't. That's the one that always reenacts everything. She actually went to the house while it was still standing up, right? And I don't know if any of you remember Nancy going and sitting outside the Idaho 4 house and putting up a table, and she was doing a whole video from that house while it was still standing. So yeah, it was just crazy. I found that very odd.
Look, the reason why this case sticks with people, because the failure of the ritual is in everyone's face. That's why.
Yes.
So people cannot just close it, say, oh, it was an accident, or they catch the guy and move on. But the thing is, to admit eventually it was a ritual, it will open a can of worms. Because now you need to admit that a lot of these crimes indeed out there are nothing but rituals. You know what I mean? And once you admit this, you realize, okay, but if there's so many rituals happening out there, crime rituals, that means so many people are desperate to be part of it. Yes, exactly. It also means you may have family members or relatives among you who are willing to do the same towards you also. And that is where a lot of people don't want to go. That's the only conclusion of this case, y'all. People are desperate for relief, for escape, to build out the reputation of their communities. So they're willing to set people up in order to get this bill out. And you could be next also if you don't watch out. And that's where a lot of people don't want to go with this. But that's the only conclusion that you can make out of it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I do think the media plays a big role in spreading this fear to everybody. Like they're basically showing everybody, exactly what was happening. They always tell you what they're doing. You just have to know, because you get a very bad vibe with them. They even showed how they demolished the house, and like Inside Your Bones says here, Scott Green's family used to own the house. Yes. And there were he was involved with some very shady characters, that guy. So he has so many reasons to want that house gone, but that's a story for another day.
Look, in this case, I'm telling you, the fortune of Ideal is worse off than before the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So the option went to Fortuna, how to balance the so-called fortune of the state. They also were worshiping were worshippers of the Greek god Pan, involved also the serial killer demon. So all these deities consulted. They made all this effort, but the state of Idaho is worse off than before. Why? Because they didn't plan it well.
Sorry, which god did they consult with? You said
Pan. Also, English to say pen.
Okay, all right.
I also made a live stream about that for 2 hours long, explaining this serial killer demon and how he was worshipped in ancient times. How he's still worshipped till this day.
Okay, go over and watch it. So for anybody who is watching, I'm going to link Rashids' channel in the description, and you can go over there and watch all of his videos. And yeah, I will link it as soon as we end the live stream. Then I'm going to tag you in the video. I don't know why I wouldn't tag you before the time, but anyway, yeah, it does make sense what Inside Your Bones is saying. Possibly, yes, carvings and ritual things inside the house. But you do see some ritual things in the crime scene photos. If you sit and look at those crime scene photos, you'll see things that don't make sense. Even outside on the wall and inside in the bedrooms, you see certain charms and things like that.
Look, the crime scene photos, the crimes look way too clean to me.
Much too clean. That's why.
Way too clean.
That's why there's evidence of a deliberate cleanup.
Absolutely. Look, the obviously the cleanup, I wouldn't be surprised with it. But also, I'm telling you, these people had no clue what. I dare to say, this ritual was done so horribly wrong that some cult members were actually killed because of it. So that's what that's why I'm going with this, because
some. Sorry, go back. Some cult members were killed.
Yeah, I even dare to say some cult members were killed because how well bad the ritual happened, y'all. I seriously believe it, because this type of failure, wow, so it's catastrophic.
That could be other students as well, if I'm correct, right? Other students, or
yeah, if they were involved, yes.
Yes, I did see a comment from somebody quite a while ago who mentioned that there were other students that also died on that night. Now, I went and I tried to look for records and I've requested records, but obviously it hasn't been sent to me. But it's very possible in my mind that there could be way more than four victims. We just won't know about it.
But also, one thing that's striking about this case is, after Brian pled guilty, they just want to wrap it up like it happened decades ago. Normally, when someone pleads guilty, you first want to check, it does the confession add up? You may still want to make a documentary about the case, whatever. Now it's like anyone that talks about the case wants to shut up about it as soon as possible. I'm sorry to say, but I don't care how traumatic something is. It happened. It needs to be processed, and it needs to be processed by the public also. Was affected by it. You gotta keep it all private all the time. The fact they want to keep it private like this, That's
They
also a
made
red flag to me.
They made one documentary that was that, I don't know if you saw it, was that one night in Idaho. But yeah, that documentary was very disturbing to watch because they don't tell you too much. They're only kind of telling you the side of it that they want you to see.
Indeed.
Did
But
you watch
also,
that documentary, that one night in Idaho?
I watched a portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't finish it. At some point, I thought, man, these people are hoaxing you. This timeline doesn't add up and all that. I just couldn't anymore. I thought, okay, whatever. I'm going to spend. I can better watch other things than watch this scrap over here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hyper emotional production to get sympathy also.
Yes.
And
That's
listen,
what
I understand. I understand the crime documentary. We let the survivor speak. I mean, the relatives of the victim, they're a bit emotional with that, but this was so hyper emotional, y'all.
Yeah, very cinematic and theatrical. The way, I mean, the main focus was not even on the victims' families in this documentary. It was on.
Listen, if that was a Hollywood movie, it would be a big flop, y'all. It would be a very big flop. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it was a very, very strange documentary. Why did they focus on these neighbors, Emily and Hunter? Who Hunter was, by the way, the guy who conveniently went in and called in. So Hunter went in, obviously you know that. He was the one who supposedly told these girls, don't go in. And then after seeing the bodies, he still calls in for an unconscious person. Are you fucking kidding me? This is ridiculous. I mean, who calls? You want to tell me you stopped, right? This guy, I don't know, this guy gives me bad vibes, but that's just my opinion. As I always say, so anything in this video, don't want to repeat that. But he goes in, right? He goes up the stairs, sees Zana, right? Now, this is what we're told is a crime scene. He's told to check for a pulse, and they still call it in to 911 as an unconscious person. How is that even possible? You want to tell me that this was daylight. This was what, after 11:58 a.m. in the morning. It's daylight out. You want to tell me he didn't see anything? That's impossible.
Look, when such rituals happen, especially with so many victims, the local community is involved. I'm telling you. I'm not saying everyone there was involved, no, but the Big Watch community is involved, Joe. That's why often in these cold cases, the police cannot solve the case. Not even private investigators, the people are blocking investigation. If the people are involved, they are going to block investigation.
And I'm not saying that he did anything. I'm saying that he...
No, you're not.
In some way, he must have had knowledge or been instructed on what to say. Like, okay, you're given a script. This is your role. So this is what you are to say. You're to say that you went in. You're the hero in the story now. Okay, we're going to paint you as the hero. You went in, you shielded these girls, and you told them, get out, get out, get out. And this is the story. You're going to stick to it no matter what. Okay? Because without him, there is no 911 call, right? So that's his role. He had to go in. Somebody's got to be the hero in the story as well that protected these girls and covers for them. Like, okay, they didn't see the bodies. It's me. I saw them. And nobody's asked him in any interviews that I looked at, well, did you not see blood? Did you not see not only Zana, but Ethan?
Yeah, okay, but the 911 call, right? Think about it. And I believe during the 911 call, they were actually dug whether it was unconscious or dead, whatever. But bro, with all the blood, we saw in the crime scene photos. How the heck you think they were unconscious?
You can't. It's not possible. You cannot tell me that you'll go into a house and see not one, but two bodies, right? And so much blood in a bedroom and not say, and I mean, she's lying on the floor and Ethan's lying there. And
I'm sorry, but based on the crime scene photos we saw, y'all, there's no way you didn't realize people were dead.
even the smell. So I've been on many crime scenes myself when I used to work with inquests, and I can tell you, when you come within even 20 meters of any crime scene, that smell hits you. It's not only from excrement from the crime scene and stuff like that. I don't want to get too graphic on here, but just, you get a sense, okay, somebody died here. You don't even need to go in. It's just an overwhelming scent. I don't know how you describe it in the Netherlands, but it's called like the scent of death, right? So anybody who ever worked on a crime scene will tell you that when you go near any crime scene, that is the first thing. The hair on your arm goes up. Before you've seen a body, before you have even gone near this scene, okay, there's death here. And anybody who's ever come across a crime scene, I'm not talking about investigators or any professional people like that, but anybody who's come into a house where something's happened, that's the first thing they'll tell you. I smelt it. Before I even saw it, I smelt it. And I'm not talking about bodily fluids or anything. I'm talking about there's a very unique scent that tells you, okay, it's done. It's that smell is something that you cannot describe to anybody who has never been on a crime scene. So in interviews, they don't ask him about this. Not once. They don't say to him, listen, what were you thinking? When you went in there, did you not smell anything? Did you not realize, okay, well, whoa, something's off. Let me get out and call the cops. Because clearly she was not unconscious. If there was no blood, none of that, I can see, okay, he went up, there's no blood, he checks her. Okay, let's say somebody passed out, right? Passed out and they passed away. Then it might be possible to go and say, listen, I didn't smell anything, because it wasn't a traumatic death. There's a very big difference between a sudden traumatic death and a death where somebody kind of passes in their sleep. The reaction to that is a little bit different, if that makes sense. So if he'd went in and let's say she passed out and maybe passed away in her sleep, you could say, okay, well, you know what? He went in, he didn't know, there was no blood, there was nothing, and he thought she was just sleeping. But looking at that, no ways. There is not a way that I will ever believe that. Again,
I mean, if they would release the crime scene photos earlier, nobody would have believed. Everyone would have doubted the 911 call with certainty. But because they hid the crime scene photos, and I mean, most of it, that's why a lot of people believe the 911 call. So the 911 call makes me believe that people wanted to hide what really happens, y'all. So,
and that
anyway.
call itself is very staged, but we can talk about that on another video, because it's very easy to manipulate audio. The chaos on that call is just, you can actually tell that this audio was put together. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem to flow in any way. And yes, it doesn't match what we were told, not at all.
Indeed. And that's why I'm telling you, we need to be alert. By staying alert, we eventually we are able to recognize warning symptoms when something bad is about to happen. We can also recognize when these rituals are done. But here's the thing: believers should be running things. So when we run things, we don't even need to have to do these rituals. Won't even have to happen because we actually deal with the issues of the community. It's because people in the world don't want to deal with issues. That's why you seek bailouts, and that's why you have things like IDO 4 and this other tragedies happening.
Yes. So for students, what would be a way for them, like, let's say, okay, people that kind of know, that don't need a warning, but I mean, let's say a student or somebody like these students, how would you recommend that they stay aware of their surroundings?
Okay, it's quite simple. Just look around you from time to time. That's it. Look around you from time to time.
Yeah, not with your face in your phone.
What do you say?
Not with your face in your phone all the time.
Yeah. I don't understand people are in the phone all the time. I mean, the phone is not the universe, y'all. I mean, so there's also things happening around you. But okay, you have to tell people, stop being with your face in the phone all the time. Look around you. You don't look around you all the time. You can look into your phone. I don't say you can't, but look around you a little bit more. By looking around you a little bit more, you'll be aware of things that don't add up. And by being aware of things that don't add up, you can actually prevent yourself from being trapped in a bad situation, or you'll be able to stop a bad thing like a ritual from happening to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good for people to actually observe what's going on around them. Just not be distracted all the time by being on your phone all the time. It's good to take breaks like that and live in the real world, because you can tell, who you surround yourself with and stuff like that. So what did you say? Gene hacking? Sorry, Inside Your One says the guy was gene hacking. He passed away. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep, they do. Inside Your Bones, I heard about that as well. But I'm not too worried about it because I hear everybody's talking about this new thing. But yeah. Just with the 2020 thing, I'm not going to concern myself with it too much. We'll see, because they're always coming with a new theory about what's going to happen. Again, they try and scare the living daylights out of us. Oh, did you see this is going to happen? Or did you see that's going to happen? Even sometimes the other day when I opened my phone, right, and I got a warning, expected floods, and then suddenly this group chat was flooded and people were like, oh, wow, what are we going to do? There's floods expected. Well, guess what? You know what? There were no floods. So it's like, well, if it floods, hey, buddy, then we swim out of here. We'll deal with it when it happens. And it didn't happen in the end of the day. So they're always trying to scare you with some tragedy in some way. Make sense?
Yes. But the thing is, the world itself operates in a low vibration by default. So people are more keen to believe a potential bad outcome than a potential good outcome. So these rituals are actually easy to do on the world. Even not easy logistically wise, but easy psychologically wise, because people are more willing to embrace tragedy than good news to begin with. So, but that's the thing also. We cannot actually prevent these rituals from ever happening again, because it will happen when Christ comes back, because worldlings want to build themselves out. What we can do is bring awareness that there are alternatives. We don't need these societal bailouts. And I think that's what needs to happen in the aftermath of this case also.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I think people can learn a lot from what happened in this case if they observe what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, what did your subscribers think about the payments to these for these spells?
What did they think about the payments?
Yeah, I mentioned the rough street value that you have to pay for these charms. And you translated into rent also. So what did your subscribers think about it?
Okay, nobody mentioned anything about the payments. So let's just see here. Let's see. Let's see.
Okay, so let me repeat. A Misfortune charms around 700 euros.
Yes.
Type
it in the comments.
What?
Oh gosh, sorry. Let me type it in the comments. Ask everybody, what do you think about the payments? Okay.
700 euros, roughly 700 euros for Misfortune spell. An actual death spell is 7,000 to 1,000, 10,000 euros between roughly. If you want them to do the actual hit for them, it's like 2,000 to 2,500 euros when you actually do the actual direct hit, not the spell but the murder. If a death spell is done on a high-ranking public figure, it's 30,000 euros. And when it's done for someone extremely high-ranking internationally, like a US politician, EU politician, or enormous big celebrity, that's like 100,000 euros.
Okay, I did put a comment. I don't know if anybody is going to comment on it. We'll have a look and see. Inside Your Bones asked me, can you tell me was the Venmos contributing to that? Inside Your Bones was those $6 that everybody paid on Venmo. There was a big story with that.
$6? Six?
No, so everybody, there was a story in the beginning where about 400 people paid $6 each to Venmo. This is because the story goes that this whole thing was recorded and viewed for entertainment, very dark entertainment purposes, right? So apparently it was filmed and put on the dark web. And so everybody paid, listen to this, yes, 400 people apparently paid $6 to watch this. It was like a pay-per-view, correct? Inside Your Bones? Oh, yes, there you type it. So I found that very interesting because according to the initial story, this was filmed, and was it 600 or 400 people that paid $6 to that Venmo account? Inside Your Bones knows a little bit about it. Yes. So she said if they pay, they comply. So they are not going to talk because their name is on it. So
wait,
yes,
$6. You know what 6 means in Greek magic, right?
Yes.
It replaces the X that refers to Helios, although it's Apollo, the sun god.
So why did they get everybody to pay? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Why did they get everybody to pay $6? And like Inside Your Bones, they're paying to be a complicit part and put their name on it. So I think they were showing off their work because I don't know Inside Your Bones if anybody had any any actual proof that they paid it. It wasn't just a story because it goes on those 4chan posts that were out. So it was just a weird amount that I found when they said, why $6? Why $6? You know? And that was the story because there were these 4chan posts. They're pretty disgusting. I'm going to see if I can send it to you in some way. And oh gosh, it's really vulgar. I haven't actually spoken about it on the channel because the things they were saying about these victims was horrific. Just yeah, it was bad. And so yes, they apparently filmed this and put it on the darknet, and people paid to watch this
Okay,
happen.
because I already explained to you, it's like between $2,000 to $2,500 if you want the cult itself to do the hit for you. And if 400 people pay $6, that's around 2,400 US dollars. And that's rough around the time the exchange rate with euros was kind of similar. So it'll be around 2,350 euros, something like that. So that would be enough for a call to do the hit. But it's a bit weird to, I don't say it's impossible, but how were they certain that 400 people would pay? Anyway, I'm not, is this alleged? I'm not saying that this is confirmation, but it's quite weird. I'll have to pay $6, Joe. And
I've got these 4chan posts somewhere. I'll see if I can send it to you. Inside Your Bones, if you've got a direct link, you can send it to me on Discord, right? And then I can send it to Rashid. But these posts were very disturbing. Okay.
But if that's the case, and if this was part of the ritual, that means that 400 people were actually agreeing with it. 400 people let it get through to you.
Yes, 400 people. And remember in the beginning when Brian's defense attorney came and she said that she needs to go through 400 witnesses. Just correct me if I'm right with that, Inside Your Bones. She said there were 400 witnesses. She actually said that. And I thought, what 400 witnesses? That was right in the beginning, like 3 years ago. And I said, what do you mean 400 witnesses? And yeah, so look, whether this plays into it, but it does make sense. So this is, yeah, it's very disturbing.
So, yes. Okay, so Inside Your Bones responded to it. Okay.
So one payment was like 330 or something. Wow.
There's 33 number of significant number of initiation.
Mm-hmm. I heard about that member. I wasn't sure if I heard right or I mistook it, but it was $3.30 or something, yes. Okay, thanks. So she sends it to me, or if I find it on this Discord server from Outcast, then okay. Tom, sorry, Tom. Okay, sorry about that. I had that wrong. If I find it on the server, I'm going to try to send it to you. I'll download it and because I'm on Outcast server, so they've got quite a lot of information on here. If you want, I can even add you to the server and you can have a look through things. It just depends on you.
Okay, that's good. Look, but the reason why I asked what you should probably think about it is because a lot of people think that these things are far from their bed, far from their home. It doesn't happen in the neighborhood. I'm telling you. Paying people to do spells for you, it happens more often than you think, yo.
Of course.
There are whole consultancy firms, which don't really consultancy firms are just warlocks and witches offering the spells, the black magic and witchcraft services. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
You may even have an auto body shop over there. They barely get customers to fix their cars, but they're there as a place where people go to pay for charms. I'm telling you. They know how to keep themselves undercover well. Anyway,
that is.
And does Inside Your Bones or any of your subscribers any questions for me?
Do you have any questions for Rashid before let the poor man go? Rashid, I'm trying to send it to you, so I don't know if you're going to be able to open this thread, but you can have a look anyway.
Yeah, I'll join. I've Discord on my laptop. Let me see if I can join right now. Hold on.
Okay, just these were just the posts. Sent it to you, so yeah, thank you, Outcast, always. Thank you, Outcast. A lot of information from him, which is good. Don't know if you can open it.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so those are the posts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can actually see how demonic these people are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions about either Automatia or how to relate to the idle 4 case?
Oh, no, don't sorry. Inside your bones are all good. We're all good. I think Automatia, we explained pretty well. You explained very well. I'm going to link your channel in the description and that video of Automatia. So if anybody's watching, then I'm sending you straight over to that video. I'll link it in the description of this video and a description to Rashid's channel. And then you can go over and watch it. If you have any questions, you can comment on the video, and then I'll obviously send the questions through to Rashid and he can answer it. So.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good.
Well,
so you can have a look. Sorry.
Okay. No, I'm good over here. But if you have nothing else about the case or Automatia, I want to thank you for inviting me to this stream. I'll be doing some buying some groceries right now. Sun is shining outside. So thanks for having me here. And we'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you for being on the stream. I'm going to go over and watch the rest of your videos today. And I always appreciate you coming on and all the knowledge you bring into this channel. So thank you so much, Rashid. Thank you, everyone.
God bless.
God bless you all. Anybody has any questions? No? Okay, we're exactly on 3 minutes 31. Okay, Inside Your Bones, I don't know if you're still here. If not, anybody else, if you have questions. All right, so don't forget that I am going to be doing a video. And hopefully I'll get it out by Sunday. If not, I'm just doing live streams for now. So other than that, I hope you understand the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Much thanks to Rashid and to anybody who was watching. I appreciate all of you. Until next time, guys, please stay safe. God bless you all. Take care.